some associates gather on the stand. This trial's a circus, but I've got a plan. Not a grifter, still worse than Dan. Hopscotch squares, don't trip, don't fall. BK in a felony, I've heard it all. Shake it, magic 8 ball. Tell me the truth, will justice call? Me be the diva, she's running the show. Chief Capone and Meg, yeah, everybody knows. Fat, we're fat, well, nobody knows. What the corn echoes as the chaos grows. My credibility left in a vehicle. Hopscotch squares, don't trip, don't fall. BK in a felony, I've heard it all. Shake it, magic 8 ball. Tell me the truth, will justice call? What the corn echoes as the chaos grows. My credibility left in a vehicle.
Hello. Sorry, too many screens going. Happy Monday. How are you guys? Hello, Sticky. Bobby, why would you put a word you know I can't say there? You might have well put Ash's favorite word to put in there, and I wouldn't be able to say that either. I don't even know what that word is. I've never even seen that word before. So, yes, no, maybe, I don't know. What's up, Bad Dazzer? Bad Dazzer, I promise you this. I will never bomb your country, but I might come take your pencils. Depends. Do you have good pencils or bad pencils? Or just okay pencils? I'm kind of picky. A little bit. Not really. Okay, I kind of am. Anyways, I hope you guys all had a great weekend. It went from being 70 some degrees here yesterday, windows open, it was breezy, so Madison and I were enjoying the breeze, enjoying the warm weather. It's 26 here today and it's snowing. Mother Nature needs to get a handle on her emotions, because spring comes Friday, period, full stop, end of story, that's it. I don't want any more snow. And I know we're going to get more. You claimed what? The word or Bad Dazzer's country? Or both? Normal pencils? Alright, well, do they have good erasers? That's kind of, you know, how you have those pencils that have bad erasers, so you go try to erase it, and you can't. It doesn't erase, it just smears the lead all over the place. What's up, whoever? I know you're probably jealous that it's 26 and snowing here. Well, I'm jealous that you're having a heat wave. Oh, the pencil emoji. Got it. That's yours. I don't need that one. 48 and dry for now. Well, I would take it. Yeah, 95. Whew. That is pretty warm for this time of year especially, but going 50-degree swing, that's just a little much for me in one day. Just a little. I mean, it was crazy. We didn't get the storms that they went north and south of us, so we were in this little weird bubble, which is fine. So I'm not complaining about that. But when I woke up and this morning I looked outside, I'm like, it's freaking snowing. And it has snowed all day. Weird. It's just weird. I mean, we're not up the upper peninsula of Michigan, who got like 41 inches or something crazy like that. So I'm okay there. I'm okay, you know, where my sister lives in Minnesota, they got like a couple feet. So you can have it. you live in Minnesota for some reason unbeknownst to me. But no thanks, because once it snows there, it doesn't ever leave until like July. Okay, well, you know what I mean. It is the grass is almost needs mowed here. Is how warm it's been, and then today, it's like no. Yeah, they completely missed us. I think well, I talked to Carmen today. I know Texas had some storms, and I know they're around the Houston area. I can never keep track of where she's at in that state. I know, like, I kind of know, but I always think she's either above or below Houston, and I can never remember which one. But she didn't say anything to me, so I'm assuming they were fine. Then I hope everybody else is okay too. There was a ton of tornadoes, at least tornado warnings. So I do hope everybody is okay from all of that stuff. I know they pushed off to the east, but I think they stayed south of, like, Gabby. She may have got snow. Don't tell her. I'm not sure. YouTube's being dumb again. I'm sorry. But yeah, you're correct. What's new? I have no words, Bobby. Although I can tell you this. My husband, he came home tonight and he's like, hey, you want to go out to dinner? It was early enough that we could go, get back, and I could be back in time to do this. So I said, sure. And then I said, wait, do you have something bad to tell me? He said, no. So we went out to dinner, and our waiter could have been a little shorter. I didn't stand up next to him, so I don't know how tall he actually was. And he did just have shorter hair. But I'm like, you could be Bobby's brother. He's super nice. He's a good waiter. No complaints. Facial hair, everything. I'm like, are you related to Bobby? You had words, then YouTube took them. What's up, Ronnie? Good to see you. I hope you are well. Hope you are warm and the cold air is not reaching you. No relation, too nice. Okay. Whatever. You're nice. Unless you're trolling somebody, you're a nice guy. You can't convince me of otherwise. Whatever. All right. So anyway, we are going to wrap up the state's case in chief tonight. We are going to hear from the two lead detectives, and then we will hear from the medical examiner. I'm really interested to hear from all of them, but especially the medical examiner, because I'm very curious of what her injuries were. We keep hearing that she was hit, in the heart area, and that it didn't take long for Sarah to pass away. So I am curious to hear what that is going to entail. I'm also curious to know if these lead detectives are going to give us the voicemails or the text messages or the MySpace, comments, whatever, wherever the harassment, these two girls, Rachel and Sarah, were committing against each other for 7 months prior to the incident that took Sarah's life. I want to see something. The state said in their opening that they had voicemails or what have you. I want to hear them. We keep hearing this statement was made about Rachel saying that she was going to, kill Sarah's Mexican boyfriend, which makes zero sense to me, because that's the reason they were fighting, is because that was also Rachel's boyfriend. That was also somebody else's boyfriend who had a baby with him. And then who knows how many other girls, I'm going to say girls, because, they say, what is it? Hate the game, or whatever. This guy had game, and he was playing these girls hard. And they just, it's like they were so in love and they just couldn't see past it. And I know when you're young, your emotions are just so out of control that you cannot rein them in. But it's like, I wonder what these people are thinking now. Like, he wasn't worth it. He just wasn't. I hope he's changed. I hope he's leading a better life. I have no idea. It's hate the game, not the playa. See, I was going to say it backwards. But why wouldn't I? What's up, Gabby? What's up, Snipe? Yeah, he was everyone's boyfriend. But don't put the title on it. Don't put the title on it. You're still hung up on which way the cars were pointing. That was the most ridiculous cross-examination of those witnesses ever. Who cares? Who cares? Like, it just doesn't matter. Like, it just doesn't matter. I won't ask if you're putting a bidet in, Snipe. I know that joke has run its course. But are you? What's up, Heidel? Good to see you. Yes, Bad Dazzer, you and Gabby both answered me. Thank you. I have no idea what that means. It reminds me of two things, an insect and a dinosaur. Two opposite ends of the spectrum, I know. That's just where I'm at. So, still not answering. Yes, no, maybe. I have no idea. I don't know what that word is. I have no idea. So we will see what the lead investigators have to say. We have Detective Michael Lynch up first, and then Tom Blessing. I feel like I gotta trying to not have a whistle, but I feel like I'm doing the Herbert from Family Guy whistle. And I apologize if I am. That's annoying. Gabby is Professor Shape. She knows. Well, she's not here to tell me. And she's not here. So I don't know. But let's see what these guys have for us, and hopefully they can, I don't know, put this thing to bed one way or the other. If this whole comment was made or not, it doesn't matter. Oh, look at you. Did you Google it? Am I saying Gabby isn't present? She's not present with me. She might be present in chat for a little bit. I don't know. Oh, no bidet. I did blow 5 inches of wet slop yesterday. Gross. And congratulations. I mean, it's not your 8 inches, but okay. We'll allow it. I guess. If we must. All right. Let's. You did Google. Good. I'm glad I'm not the only one that didn't know what that meant.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Ms. Hannah, what you may inquire.
Please introduce yourself to the jury and spell your last name for the record.
It's Detective Michael Lynch, Lynch.
What agency do you work for?
I work for the Pinellas Park Police Department.
How long have you been with the Pinellas Park Police Department?
This December will be 13 years.
On April 15th, 2009, were you designated as the lead detective on this case?
I was, ma'am, yes.
As the lead detective, can you briefly explain to the jury what your responsibilities are?
Sure. As the lead detective, it's my responsibility to follow up on any leads in the case during the active investigation itself, interview witnesses, suspects, and gather any evidence or potentially evidence that might exist in the case.
At what time that evening were you first contacted about this case?
I was originally contacted about 1 a.m. in the morning.
Did your duties take you to 9821 52nd Street?
It did, yes.
And that is in Pinellas Park,
It is, ma'am, yes.
Pinellas County, Florida?
Yes.
Who lives at that address?
A gentleman by the name of Javier Laboy.
Were patrol and forensic units already on scene when you arrived?
When I arrived, they were on scene, yes.
Which officer did you originally make contact with at the scene?
I originally made contact with Officer Simpkins.
Was he one of the initial officers at the scene?
He was, ma'am, yes.
What were Officer Simpkins' responsibilities as one of the initial officers at the scene?
As one of the initial officers, it's his responsibility to find out what had initially happened, make sure that medical treatment is rendered to the victim, and also help secure the scene and gather information on who might have been witnesses or potential witnesses in the case.
Okay. Do you, after you get the basic information from Officer Simpkins, do you then follow up with full-blown interviews with individuals?
I do, yes.
And are these full interviews done at the police department?
They were, yes.
Was a suspect on the scene when you arrived?
Yes, she was still there.
And where was she located?
She was sitting up near the front porch area of that particular residence.
Was Sarah Ludemann still on the scene when you arrived?
No, ma'am, she had already been transported to the hospital.
Were there witnesses to the stabbing on scene when you arrived?
Yes, there were.
Who was present?
I recall there being Janet Camacho, Jaleesa Smith, Javier Laboy, and Dustin Grimes.
Can you please tell us where you observed each of the witnesses to the stabbing?
When I arrived, I would have been more towards the north end of the crime scene, as I would describe it. Javier and Dustin were up near the residence where Javier had been staying, and Janet and Jaleesa were at the opposite end of the crime scene, towards the south end of it, if you will.
Okay. When you are at a crime scene and you learn about the parties, do sometimes you keep certain parties separated from each other?
Yes.
And why would that be?
Well, first of all, we want independent statements as much as possible. And secondly, I had knowledge that two of those individuals had been in the van with the victim. Two of those individuals, meaning Dustin and Javier, had been at the residence with the defendant in this case. So not knowing if those individuals got along or if there was any animosity between them or whatnot, they were kept separate or at least away from each other.
So you would want to make sure that Janet and Jaleesa were apart from Dustin and Javier, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. But at the same time, each one of those individually would be kept apart, correct?
As much as possible, yes.
Objection be.
Sustained.
Would those witnesses be kept apart?
The idea would be obviously to try to keep them apart, yes.
At the time you arrived on scene, had a knife been located?
Not at that time, no.
Was a canine unit called to aid in the search for the knife?
Yes, it was. A canine would do what we call an article search, and they were brought out for that.
Was the canine unit able to locate the knife at that time?
No, ma'am.
Okay, Your Honor, may I have a moment? May I approach the witness?
You may.
And may I have the witness step down?
You may.
Now, Detective, could you please explain to the jury, and I'm showing you what's been entered into evidence at State's Exhibit 3A through 3I, where the vehicles were located?
Okay, I can describe to you, at least to try to set the scene for you a little bit. As you're looking, I'll use the middle picture. It's, I believe, 3E. as a descriptor. The van that you see in the photograph belongs to the victim, in this case, Ms. Ludemann, or her parents' van. That vehicle, as the direction that it is facing north on what would be 52nd Street. 52nd Street is the main street that runs through this particular neighborhood. So that vehicle, as you see it, is facing north. The red vehicle in this photograph, the same photograph, belongs to the defendant in the case, and it is parked what would be along the east shoulder of the road facing south.
Were the vehicles facing directly in front of each other or not?
I would consider them to be offset, in an offset pattern.
Okay. Where would you describe the van? Where was it located in the street?
The van would be located more in the center of the street. There's a somewhat of a cap to the road. There is a slight curve top to it for runoff for the water, but the van more or less is parked in the center of that cap, offset from the passenger side of the red Saturn.
The vehicles, they're facing each other. What is the distance to get from one vehicle to the other?
I would say, again, looking at 3B, the top photo, you can see slightly the Saturn off to the side and the van in the middle of the photograph. There is a distance between the two of them of approximately 4 to 5 feet where they came to, where the van had come to a stop.
And when you say there's a distance, is that from the front of the Saturn to the front of the van?
I would say that I'm describing the distance between where they stopped. If I had to describe the distance from what would be maybe the driver's side of the Saturn to the driver's side portion of the van, I'd say is more like 10 to 12 feet possibly.
Okay. Did you observe any blood on the scene?
I did, yes.
Can you please explain to the jury where you observed the blood?
Where I observed the blood was, again, I'll point to picture 3A, the driver's side door of the van is open. Where I observed the blood was contained mainly to the interior area of the driver's side portion of the van.
Did you observe blood anywhere else?
There's only a small portion of blood on the outside of the van on articles of clothing that were outside of the van, and that was the only other place that I saw.
Okay. Was there any blood in front of the vehicles?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Was there any blood outside, besides on the clothing, outside of the driver's side passenger door?
No.
Of the van?
Of the van, no, ma'am.
Okay. You may have a seat. At some point in time while you were at the scene, did you learn that Sarah Ludemann had been pronounced dead?
I did, yes.
As part of your, I guess at that point was the investigation, now a homicide investigation.
It was, ma'am, yes.
As part of your investigation, did you go to the hospital where Sarah Ludemann was at?
I did.
Why did you go see Sarah Ludemann at the hospital?
There were 2 points for going there. One, I first made contact with her family to speak with them and advise them that I was working on the case, but also to actually see Ms. Ludemann as she laid in the hospital to observe her injuries.
Okay. And what injuries did you observe?
I noticed that she had 2 significant stab wounds to the upper left chest area of her body.
Okay. Could you please describe to the jury the stab wounds that you observed?
The first wound that I described as being the first wound, or wound number 1, was a stab wound to the area of her upper left shoulder, just below the shoulder blade. I had noted that it was oriented, if you're looking at the face of a clock, I noticed that it was oriented from a position of about 2 o'clock at the top to 7 o'clock at the bottom half of the wound. The second wound that I observed was directly over the area of the left breast and was oriented, again, using the face of a clock, noted it to be basically from noon to 6 p.m.
Was there a wound that was much larger than the other?
I would say that the wound over the area of the breast was larger than the shoulder wound.
How large was the wound to that area of the breast?
I described it as being approximately 2 to 3 inches long.
And how long was the injury or the wound to the shoulder area?
I described that one, I believe, to be a little closer to maybe 1 to 2 inches.
Did you notice any defensive type injuries?
I did not.
What are defensive type injuries?
We usually see defensive type wounds in cases where there has been combat, where somebody may have been involved, where a weapon might be used against them, to see them along the palms of their hands or the exterior of the arms, those types of injuries, maybe bruising, scrapes, scratches, other stab wounds, and I did not notice anything like that.
Once you reviewed Sarah Ludemann's injuries, was her body released to the medical examiner's office?
It was, yes,
For what purpose?
for the purpose of autopsy that later that day.
Did you conduct an interview of Rachel Wade?
I did.
Did you observe any injuries on Rachel Wade?
I did, yes.
What injuries did you observe?
I recall her having an injury to the inside of her mouth, the area of her lip, and I believe that she had some small scratches and scrapes along her back.
Did you conduct an interview of Javier LeBoy?
I did.
Did you conduct an interview of Dustin Grimes?
I did.
Did you conduct an interview of Janet Camacho?
I did.
Did you conduct an interview of Jaleesa Smith?
Yes.
Did you conduct an interview of Joshua Camacho?
Yes, I did.
Did you conduct an interview of Ashley Lovelady at that time?
On that particular night, I did not know.
Why not?
It was, number one, her name was not known to me at that time. Nobody knew who her last name was, and at the point that that information became available, I didn't consider her to be a key, to this particular investigation at that point.
Okay. Did you eventually at some point learn her last name and conduct an interview of her?
I did, yes.
Okay. And when was that?
It was sometime after the initial investigation. If you want the exact date, I'd have to look and refresh my memory, but it was sometime after that.
Okay, was it months after?
Yes.
When you interviewed Ashley, did you feel she was honest in her interview?
Initially, she was not, no.
Okay. And did you tell Ashley that you thought that she was not being honest?
I did, yes.
Did you tell Ashley to contact you if she changes her mind or thought of anything else?
I did. I left the door open for her to recontact me.
Did she contact you the day after you spoke with her?
She called me the very next day and explained to me that she wanted to set the record straight.
Okay. Were you able to recover Sarah Ludemann's cell phone from her vehicle at the scene?
I did, yes.
What was the phone number associated with Sarah Ludemann's phone?
I'll refer to my notes just so I can give you the number. The phone number for Sarah's phone was area code 727-542-9186.
Were you also able to recover Rachel Wade's cell phone?
It was collected that night, yes.
What was the phone number associated with Rachel Wade's phone?
Again, from my notes, it was again 727-326-2771.
At some point in time, did you go through Sarah's phone to determine if any calls were made between Sarah and Rachel?
We did, yes.
And did you see the number 326, area code 727-326-2771 on Sarah's telephone as a call that was made?
Yes, there was a call placed from Sarah to Rachel that night.
At what date was the call made?
It was done on that date, and the time was approximately 12:33 that night.
Was it 12:33 a.m.?
A.M., yes, ma'am.
Sometime in June of 2009, were you contacted by Sarah's father, Charles Ludemann, regarding voicemails that were saved on Sarah's phone's voicemail box?
Yes, we did have that discussion.
And did Charles Ludemann give you a code to access the voicemail account to retrieve the saved messages?
Yes, there was a 4-digit code to access the actual voicemails.
Did you retrieve the saved messages?
I did.
Did you listen to the messages?
I did.
Were you able to obtain the call data, such as a date and timestamp of the calls for each call through the voicemail system?
Yes, ma'am, I was.
Did you recognize the voice on the messages?
I did.
Whose voice was it?
To recognize the voice of Rachel Wade on the
And
message.
how did you recognize her voice?
I recognized it from my previous contact with her during my interview.
Okay.
And she also, during those messages, had actually mentioned her name on the voicemail.
Okay. Your Honor, may I have a moment? May I approach the witness? Detective, I'm showing you what's been pre-marked as State's Exhibit Number 2. Can you please look at this? Do you recognize it?
I do, ma'am.
Please tell us how you recognize it.
I recognize it as being a CD that I've listened to that contains those voicemail messages. I recognize it with my initials and the date that's on here as well.
And is this a fair and accurate reproduction of the messages from Rachel Wade that you heard?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Your Honor, at this time, the state moves into evidence. State's Exhibit Number 2.
Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
It'll be admitted as State's Exhibit Number 2.
Your Honor, may I publish to the jury?
You may publish it.
Once you're off your fucking age, Sarah, seriously, answer your fucking phone, don't be a fucking pussy. You wanna come through my fucking neighborhood and be a psycho bitch, just like fucking Aaron. Fuck with Josh's car, you're fucking with me when you fuck with his shit, seriously. I'm letting you know now, you're either gonna get fucked up or something of yours is, so watch the fuck out or answer your fucking phone, stop being a bitch.
End of message. To erase this message, press 7. To save it, press 9. To hear more options, press 0. To replay this message, press 4. To get envelope information about this message, press 5. Sent Tuesday, July 29th at 3:36 a.m. Duration 22 seconds. To erase this message, press 7. To save it, press 9. This message will be saved for 21 days. Next message.
Please tell me, Sarah, why you would be a dumbass cunt to have to put a brand new picture of you and Josh at the beach on your MySpace. Seriously, I told you to watch your fucking back and not to fucking chill with him. Now your ass is mine, and I'm guaranteeing you I'm gonna fucking murder you. I'm letting you know that now, because you know what? Josh might have played me, but bitch, I'm gonna play your ass out too. Watch. You're a fucking fat bitch, and I'm gonna fucking kill you. I swear on my life. Walk out your fucking window when I get off work tonight, you dumb bitch.
End of message. To erase this message, press 7. To save it, press 9. To hear more options, press 0. To replay this message, press 4. To get envelope information about this message, press 5. Sent Friday, August 29th at 4:33 p.m. from phone number 727-290-7572. Duration 34 seconds. To erase this message, press 7. To save it, press 9. This message will be saved for 21 days. Next message.
It's so funny how you talk shit and you want to sit there and say that my man was at your house. Then tell me what he was wearing tonight, Sarah. You're a dumb bitch for real. If you're fucking lying, I'm going to find you and I'm going to beat your ass. If you're not lying, I'm going to find you and beat your ass, okay? You keep playing fucking games. You're a pathetic little bitch, and you're a little fucking girl. Honestly, what the fuck do you have that's going for you that Josh wants you over me for? I got a job, have my own place. What the fuck? Seriously? He can get anything he wants from me, any fucking thing. Not to mention that I look probably 10 times fucking better than you, and you fucking run your mouth. You still got your mommy and daddy's curfew, bitch, for God's sake. What the fuck why do you run your fucking mouth, and why are you that pathetic? Please do leave the shit on your MySpace, because that's old news, just like you and him are. So keep talking shit, Sarah. You don't know when to stop. You haven't learned your lesson yet, but I'm gonna fucking teach you it. I'm telling you now. Keep fucking with me, Sarah. You and Aaron both are fucking dumb, psychotic little bitches, and I'm telling you now, I'm going to show you psycho. Keep fucking with me. You're fucking with the wrong person, and you're fucking with the one thing that I care about. So keep fucking going, Sarah. Play your motherfucking game, because I'm going to teach you how to grow up real motherfucking quick.
End of message. To erase this message, to replay this message, press 4. To get envelope information about this message, press 5. Sent Sunday, August 31st at 10:44 p.m. Duration 1 minute 14 seconds. To erase this message, press 7. To save it, press 9. This message will be saved for 21 days. Next message.
Why don't you come see Josh now, Sarah? Come fucking see him now while I'm outside his house, bitch. I fucking dare you.
End of message. To erase this message, press 7. To save it, press 9. To hear more, to replay this message, press 4. Sent Sunday, August 31st at 11:25 p.m. Duration 10 seconds. To erase the days. Next message.
Hey Sarah, it's Rachel. I'm on my way to the park, and I'm sure you guys are probably walking since you're all broken, don't have cars, and I know you need the exercise. I'm sure Josh is trying to send you out a little bit, but I don't know. I was just wondering, and sweetheart, if you don't get me tonight, just to let you know, you come to my job, you'll be arrested on the spot, or if you eat, I'll spit in your food, which I'm sure you won't mind because you're not even going to know. As quick as you fucking scarf it down, you're like my dog. You probably don't even chew your food. But do me a favor and meet me up there. I'm on my way, bitch. Bye.
End of message. To erase this message, press 7. To save it, press 9. To replay this message, press 4. To get sent Wednesday, November 12th at 7:47 p.m. from phone number 727-326-2771. Duration 34 seconds.
Detective, eventually, that night, was the knife located?
It was, ma'am, yes.
Where was the knife located?
It was located on the roof of the residence directly next to where Javier LeBoy had been staying. It was the house to the north of there.
Did you make an arrest on this case?
We did, yes.
Whom did you arrest?
Arrested Miss Rachel Wade.
And what did you charge Ms. Rachel Wade with?
She was charged with second-degree murder.
No further questions, Your Honor?
Thank you. Cross-examination?
Yes, please go ahead. Good morning, Detective Lynch.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
You're the lead detective in this case,
I am, sir, yes.
and you would agree with me that this is a tragic situation.
Yes, sir, I would.
Okay. You certainly got a flavor for the overall drama that was unfolding in this case, didn't you, sir?
I did.
Okay. You're aware that there were threats. Obviously, we just heard phone messages left for Sarah Ludemann by
Yes.
Rachel Wade.
Correct.
And you were aware, certainly through interviewing interviewing the other witnesses, that there were threats going back the other way towards Rachel Wade.
I would agree, yes.
Okay. In fact, you interviewed Rachel Wade, went through a detailed videotaped interview with Rachel.
Your Honor, can we approach?
You may.
Thank you, Judge. Madam Court Reporter? Okay. Back on the record. Detective Lynch, I was asking you a question about the interview of Rachel Wade. You had the opportunity to conduct an intensive, over an hour interview with Ms. Wade, correct?
I did, yes, sir.
And that was conducted at the Pinellas Park Police Department, correct?
It was, sir, yes.
And it was videotaped by your office, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Would you agree with me that in that discussion, she talked about that drama that was going on between the parties?
Objection, Your Honor.
I'm sorry, one more time, sir.
In that discussion, in that interview, she talked about the drama that was going on between the parties.
There was some discussion at what may have led up to this.
Without revealing the
Yes.
contents, there was
Yes.
discussion about
Yes,
that.
sir.
All right. During that, and you don't know specifically before 1:51 a.m. whether or not that occurred. Is that a fair statement?
Right, that's correct.
Okay. In fact, at some point in time, did you not go down and pick up Jaleesa and Janet as they were walking towards her home?
I did not know, sir.
Okay. Are you aware that somebody else did?
Yes.
Okay. But they were walking alone together down the street and they had to be picked up.
They were, I would not categorize them as walking down the street, but yes, they were at the south end of the crime scene in an area outside of that area, yes.
Okay. You were asked several questions as you stepped down in front of the jury about the red Saturn. Let's talk about that for a moment, if you will. I'm just going to hold up for the jury. This has been moved into evidence as defense exhibit number 5. These are just bigger composite blow-ups of what the state had. Would you agree with me that the red Saturn was parked in essence, a legal manner?
I would like to have seen the vehicle facing north, but I would say yes, it would be closer to being parked legally than the van, yes.
Okay. Would you also agree with me that the way the green minivan was parked, would be a traffic hazard?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you know when these pictures were taken?
I cannot give you an exact time. I know they were taken at the scene that night, within, minutes or hours of the incident.
Okay. It was pretty dark out that night?
Yes, it was early morning hours, yes.
Okay. And when we say early morning, we're talking about 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Okay. Let me show you what appears is we've admitted as 7A and 7B for defense exhibits. And I ask if you take a look at those 2 pictures. Do they appear to be of the scene?
If you can turn it toward, I'm getting a shine off the light. Can't really see.
Approach the witness, if I may, Judge. Appear to be of the scene?
Yes, I would say they are, yes.
Okay. And based on that, does it appear that one picture has a flash photography on the bottom and the picture on the top appears to have no flash working?
I'd say the top picture is darker than the bottom picture, yeah.
Okay. Absent the flash, would it be fair to say that that picture on the bottom, on the picture on the top is more indicative of what the scene was like that night?
I would say that it's accurate maybe from the angle of where that person who is taking the picture is, because it is darker. If they took that without a flash, I'd say that the lighting would have been conducive with that area. Yes.
Thank you. And so that we're clear, your estimation of the distance between the 2 vehicles would have been 4 to 5 feet?
When I described 4 to 5 feet, I said the stopping distance between, I would say I'll describe it as the nose of each car, yes.
Okay. And when you looked in the van, you were able to observe blood inside the van?
Yes, sir, that's
In
correct.
fact, the majority of the blood at the scene was inside of the van?
That's correct, sir.
Okay. Were you told that Sarah got into the van after she had been stabbed?
I did learn that, yes.
Okay. Did you draw a conclusion based on the information that you gathered that Sarah was inside the van?
Based on the blood, I would have to assume that she was in there, yes.
Okay. Initially, during your investigation, did you draw any conclusions based on the witnesses that she had been stabbed inside the van?
No, I never received any information like that.
Okay. Let me ask you a few questions about Ashley Lovelady. Her name came up at what point in time in the investigation? It came up that night, but not as a specific target?
The name came up as only being Ashley, someone that had stopped and seen or had been observed earlier that evening.
Okay. And that name was given to you by whom?
That night would have been, I believe it came from Janet that night.
Okay. And at that point in time, she wasn't a focus of the investigation. Did Janet disclose to you why she was important to this investigation?
Objection, Your Honor, I can't talk from your side.
Sustained.
No. Judge Mambier?
A yes or no question?
No. Did she disclose why it would be important? Not the nature of the conversation.
All right. Well, like I said, it's a yes or no question, so you can answer that question, but then not get into exactly what she said.
Did she disclose to you why?
One more time with your question, please.
Did Janet disclose to you why Ashley was a relevant person in this investigation? That night?
I would say no.
Okay. Now, at some point in time, you did interview Ashley Lovelady.
I did, yes.
Okay. And when you interviewed Ashley Lovelady, did you have additional information that caused you not to believe her first testimony, her first statement?
Yes,
Okay. And that additional information was garnered from other witnesses in the case, correct?
that's correct.
All right. You would agree with me that when you met with Ashley Lovelady, she lied to you about what her involvement was in this case?
She lied to me about a portion of it, yes.
Would you agree with me that she lied to you about the most important portion?
I would say, yeah.
All right. You did a report sometime in September detailing that conversation and the follow-up conversation with Ashley Lovelady?
I did, yes, sir.
Okay. And that's about 5 months after the incident?
Roughly, yes.
Okay. I'd like to talk to you about these phone calls briefly. When we listen to these phone calls, would you agree with me that the date stamp on the time that the phone calls are made and the duration of the phone calls that are made come after we hear the phone call?
That's correct, they did.
All right, so if my listening skills are correct, the first phone call that we heard from Rachel Wade to Sarah Ludemann's cell phone was on 7/29/08.
That sounds correct, sir, yes.
Okay. And that would be some July, August, September, October, November, December, January, February, April, some 9 months before anything happened in this event.
Yes, sir, we forgot March, but yes, that's
Okay.
close.
So somewhere between 8 and 9 months.
Yes, sir.
And then the second call was in August, again, listening to the call in entirety, and then listening to the date stamp would have been in August the 24th of 34 seconds.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Again, some 7 months or 8 months. Then the third call is in August again. It's 1:14 long, and it was some 8 months before the incident.
That would be correct.
Okay. The next call was also in August, approximately 8 months. It was 10 seconds in duration.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then the last call, which appears to have a little bit different demeanor, was in November, some 6 months before, or 5.5 months before. Okay.
5 to 6 months before, yes, sir.
There are no phone calls, to your knowledge, that you've retrieved or are going to offer into testimony before this jury that are inside of 5 months, that are closer to the date of the event.
That's correct, sir.
All of these phone calls predated by at least 5 months and as long as 9 months.
That would be accurate, yes, sir.
Okay. And the person who told you where the knife was located was Rachel Wade.
Objection, Your Honor.
Well, you found the knife, correct?
Yes, we did.
During the course of the investigation, somebody told you where the knife was located, correct?
Yes.
Okay. If I can just have a moment. Thank you, Detective Lynch. Have a good day.
Thank you.
No redirect. All right, thank you, sir. You may step down.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Judge, I would ask that the lead detective remain on standby. I don't have to leave the building.
The state may want him to remain in the building, but that's between the witness and the state.
So he did a good job there for once after we got through the directions that the cars were facing again. The way the prosecutor, which all you had to do was pay attention, and I wasn't, because hearing the menu on the voicemail was kind of weird. But when he breaks it down, it was all these months in between the incident. Doesn't change what happened. That still happened. But it does frame it differently, that it wasn't just her calling every day and leaving her these voicemails. I agree with you guys that I want to hear what Sarah said. I don't think Sarah was quiet. I hope that we get to hear that, or at least see some messages that were on MySpace. Again, I don't remember how MySpace worked. But I am curious. I think they both were running their mouth. So we'll see. This is our last lead investigator here, lead detective, and then we will do the medical examination. You know, the ME. Good grief.
Sir, could you please turn and introduce yourself to the jury?
I am Detective Ken Blessing with the Pinellas Park Police Department.
How long have you been employed by the Pinellas Park Police Department?
22 years.
In what capacity are you employed by the Pinellas Park Police Department?
I'm a detective.
All right. Have you always been in that capacity? What were you before detective?
Patrol officer.
How long have you been a detective with Pinellas Park?
Off and on approximately 14, 15 years.
All right. So I guess in April of 2009, you were a detective with the Pinellas Park Police Department. Is that correct?
Yes.
What sort of training do you have to receive to become an officer with the Pinellas Park Police Department, and further training and experience is necessary to become a detective?
I attended the police academy, and I've had subsequent training since then. I also attended a 40-hour detective school back when I was first made a detective.
Okay. Prior to April 15th, 2009, had you any experience investigating stabbings or murders or other crimes involving great bodily harm or injury to a person?
Yes.
How many times?
Probably 5 or 6 times I've worked homicides.
Okay. I want to recall your attention back to April 15th, 2009. Do you recall that date?
Yes.
Were you on duty that morning around midnight, 12:30 a.m.?
Actually, I was home sleeping when they called me.
Okay. Is that typical in a case like this where there's been a stabbing or a murder, that they call detectives who are not on duty to come investigate?
Yes, we only have detectives working during the day. We don't have them working at night.
Okay. Approximately what time were you called to assist in this investigation?
You see, I was called at about 1:30 in the morning.
All right. And for the record, what was that you were referring to? So,
My police report.
okay. Do you recall about what time you arrived on scene?
1:45.
All right. So based upon your understanding of when the stabbing actually occurred, how soon after do you believe you were arriving on scene to assist with your investigation?
Within a half hour to 45 minutes.
Okay. What's the first thing you were asked to do to assist in this investigation?
Basically, I was filled in by the lieutenant on site, and at that point, I stood by until Detective Lynch arrived at the scene, and Sergeant Berger, who's the criminal investigation sergeant, arrived, and then we decided who would do what at the scene.
Okay. What were your responsibilities going to be?
At that time, I ended up interviewing one of the witnesses, and I stood by at the scene for anything else that they asked me to do.
Okay. Do you recall which witness you were asked to interview?
Janet Camacho.
Okay. Were you also asked to interview another witness but had a separate detective interview that witness?
Yes.
Okay. And who was the other witness you were asked to interview?
The other witness was...
I told you Jaleesa Smith. Does that sound accurate?
Yes, that would be it.
Okay. These interviews that you're conducting, yours with Janet Camacho and another detective with Jaleesa Smith, are they occurring simultaneously?
One was I talked to her in my car, and the other detective talked to her in his vehicle.
Okay. Do you recall where Janet and Jaleesa were standing when you contacted them for interview?
Yeah, they were in the area of 52nd Street and Park Lake Drive.
Okay. Was that still within the crime scene or outside of the crime scene?
Slightly outside of the crime scene because we had the crime scene closed off with crime scene tape.
Okay. Now, prior to interviewing a witness, you indicated that you were briefed about what was going on from other detectives and lieutenants and first responders. Is that typical in this type of situation?
Yes.
Is it typical that a first responder has initial contact with somebody and finds out who they are and what they know?
Yes.
Is that typically detailed contact or brief contact? How would you describe it?
It depends on the situation. Sometimes it's extremely brief. Sometimes it's more in depth. Depends on the officer who's first at the scene.
Okay. The detective's job when you get on scene, is it to get certainly a detailed investigation or interview?
If there's already been people interviewed by the initial officer, we re-interview, and then we get into the remainder of the investigation.
When you interviewed Janet, was that in your police cruiser? Is that what you testified to?
Yes.
Do you know if she'd already given an initial brief statement to another officer?
I'm not aware. She may have.
Okay. In your interview with Janet Camacho, did she make reference to overhearing a speakerphone conversation wherein Rachel Wade threatened to stab Sarah and her Mexican boyfriend?
Yes.
Do you recall what time your interview with Janet was conducted?
It was a 0 to 10 hours.
Okay.
For the record, if you can,
2 10 hours.
And in layman's terms, not military time, that's what?
10 after 2 in the morning.
So this wasn't several hours after the stabbing occurred, was it?
No.
After your witness interview with Ms. Camacho, what do you do?
I stayed at the crime scene. I worked with Detective Lynch for a while as far as what we should do. I also took the 2 witnesses home to the residence, and that was at 2:40 in the morning.
Tell me this, did you at some point do a show-up, what's known as a show-up in the field?
Yes.
Okay. Tell the jury what a show-up is.
Show up is when we have a crime and we have a witness to it. We take the witness by the person who did it, and we ask that person if, in fact, that is the person who committed the crime.
And you did that in this case?
Yes.
Do you recall which witnesses you took by to do the show-up?
That would have been Camacho and Smith.
And by Camacho, you mean Janet Camacho, and Smith, you mean Jaleesa Smith?
Yes, and that was at 2:30 in the morning.
Okay. Who did you take them to see in the show-up? Was it Rachel Wade?
Yes.
Were they able to positively identify Rachel Wade as the person they saw commit the stabbing?
Yes.
At some point were you asked to attempt to locate the weapon that was used in the stabbing?
Yes.
And were you given any direction as to where to look for the weapon?
I was notified by my sergeant that the knife was located on a roof of a residence next to the crime scene.
That it was located there, or that you were to look for it there?
Well, he told me that it should be there and to look for it.
Thank you.
Explain why you did it.
Thank you. So just repeat that answer so we're clear.
My sergeant notified me that to check at a residence next to the crime scene.
Okay. Now, if you're facing the crime scene, if you're facing what's Javier LeBoy's house, are you checking the house to the left or to the right?
Be to the left.
To the left? All right. What do you do to check this house?
I got a ladder, and I climbed up on the roof and located the knife on the far side of the roof.
Okay. When you first climbed up the ladder, are you able to immediately see the knife?
No.
And you have permission to approach the clerk?
You may.
Your Honor, I'm showing opposing counsel from previously marked State's Exhibit 7 for identification. My first witness. Your Honor, I'm showing the witness what's been previously marked State's Exhibit 7 for identification. Detective, do you recognize this exhibit?
Yes.
What is it?
That's the knife. That's the top of the roof, and then that's the knife that was laying on the roof.
Did this exhibit fairly and accurately depict the position the knife was on the roof?
Yes.
Does it fairly and accurately depict the condition the knife was when you located it on the roof?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time, State moves State's Exhibit 7 for identification and evidence as State's Exhibit 7.
Any objection? No objection. It will be admitted.
Okay, Your Honor, permission for the public to the jury for the witness to step down to utilize the exhibit.
Permission granted.
So, Detective, you mentioned you had to use a ladder to get on top of this roof, correct?
Yes.
All right, and was this a roof that, you said this was the house to the left of Javier LeBoy's house, correct?
Yes.
All right. When you get up on the ladder, explain to the jury what you did as you get up on the ladder.
When I got up on the ladder, I looked at the roof. I had a flashlight. I looked at the roof initially, and I didn't see anything. And at first, I didn't think the knife was even up there. And then as I walked further on the roof, I saw it laying up there.
Okay. Now, it's kind of hard to tell from these pictures, but are you climbing up on the ladder what would be this side of the roof over here, depicted in the bottom of the picture, or are you over here on this side of the roof? Can you tell?
Can't tell from the picture. I know I climbed up, it would be on the, if you're looking at the house, it would be on the right side of the house where it was at.
As far as the knife is concerned, was it located on that right side of the roof, on the right side of the house where you were looking, or was it more to the left side of the roof, the left side of the house?
It was to the left side of the house.
All the way on the other side of the roof?
Yes.
Okay. And this knife here, when you're looking at it, does it appear that there's actually still some DNA material on the blade of the knife?
Yes.
Okay, you can have a seat. Your Honor, I'm showing opposing counsel was the pre-marked State's Exhibit 5 for identification. Can I approach the witness?
You may.
Detective Blessing, I'm showing you what's been pre-marked State's Exhibit 5 for identification. Do you recognize it?
Yes, that's the knife that I found on the roof.
Okay. Is this knife in the same condition as when you found it on the roof?
Yes.
Complete with the DNA material on the blade?
Yes.
Complete with the bent blade?
Yes.
And Your Honor, at this time, State moves to enter State's Exhibit 5 for identification into evidence of State's Exhibit 5.
Any objection? No objection. It'll be admitted.
Permission for the witness to step down and show it to the jury?
You may.
Hope he shows it to us as well. I want to see the actual size of it.
So could you please show the jury what we see here?
This would be the knife that I found up on the roof.
Now, when you found the knife, the blade was bent the way it is there?
Yeah.
You take your seat. Your Honor, may I have a moment?
You may.
Your Honor, I have no further questions for this witness.
Yes,
Very
she
good.
put
Any
it, somebody put it on the
cross-examination?
roof.
Fairly brief, Judge.
It did look longer. The blade looked longer than in the photo. I agree.
Please the court. Good morning, Detective Blessing.
Good morning.
I believe you arrived on scene approximately 1:30?
Actually, I arrived at 1:45. They called me at 1:30.
Your phone call to come out was at
Yes.
1:30? And you arrived at 1:45. Okay. So anything before 1:45, you have no personal knowledge of what was going on at that time or who was doing what? You just information you later found out through your investigation?
Correct.
Okay. When you spoke with Janet about the issue of the stabbing your Mexican boy, you and your Mexican boyfriend, she also indicated that Joshua's phone was the phone she took the phone call on. Isn't that true?
Yes.
Joshua Camacho's phone, not Sarah's phone, but Joshua Camacho's phone.
Correct.
That's what Janet told you.
Yes.
And she indicated that was on speakerphone on Joshua's phone?
Yes.
Okay. And your testimony is that the witnesses in this case, specifically Miss Smith and Miss Camacho, were interviewed and questioned in squad cars?
No, I have a Ford Escape, so I interviewed her in that, and the other detective interviewed her in his detective car.
Okay. When you arrived, I think you'd also indicated that both Jaleesa and Janet were outside of the crime scene. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. Now, Javier Laboy, he was interviewed, correct?
I believe so.
Okay. And Dustin Grimes, he was also interviewed.
Yes.
They were actually inside the crime scene, sitting not far from this way, being observed by officers, correct?
They were down at the end of the street. Everyone was more or less in the same area south of the crime scene at Park Lake Drive and 52nd Street.
When you also spoke with Janet, she didn't, in her interview, tell you that she saw Rachel Way throw something, did she, sir?
No.
She never said that?
No.
Okay. In fact, she suspected that Javier Dustin may have taken the knife from her.
Yes.
That's what she told you?
Yes.
And the information that helped you locate the knife on the roof was provided by Rachel Way?
Objection, Your Honor. Sustained.
May I approach? You did take written statements from the witnesses that you interviewed?
Yes.
Okay. That's all I have, Judge. Thank you.
Thank you. Any redirect?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you, sir. You may step down. You'll remain on standby. If the lawyers can approach.
Well, that was quick for 2 lead detectives. Wow. All right, then. We'll move on to the medical examiner, and I know what you guys are going to say, but he's quick too. So, just, the medical examiner is only about a half an hour. So we're moving right along.
Good afternoon. Well, good morning, sir.
Good morning.
How are you doing today?
Good.
Could you please turn and introduce yourself to the jury?
I'm Jon Thogmartin. I'm District 6 Medical Examiner.
Okay. And could you please spell your last name aloud for the court reporter?
It's T as in Tom, Hogmartin.
Dr. Thogmartin, are you licensed to practice medicine in the state of Florida?
Yes.
Are you a duly licensed physician and surgeon?
Yeah, I guess so, yes.
Are you licensed in any other states other than Florida?
Texas and Alabama.
Now, you mentioned that your current profession is District 6 Medical Examiner.
Yes.
Do you hold a specific title within the District 6 Medical Examiner's office?
Well, it would be District Medical Examiner. It's a kind of like Chief Medical Examiner. They're pretty much synonymous terms.
Now, District 6, does the jurisdiction of District 6 cover Pinellas County?
Pinellas and Pasco, it parallels the 6th Judicial Circuit, same boundary.
How long have you been licensed to practice in your profession, doctor?
Ooh, I got my license in like 1990, June 1991 in Texas.
Okay. Please tell the jury what your educational background, training, and experience are.
Well, I'm a medical doctor. I went to school in Texas, the University of Texas Health Science Center at San Antonio. I completed that in 1990. I then trained over 5 years, did a residency like most all doctors do. I did that in pathology, anatomic, and clinical pathology. And then I left Texas to come to Dade County, Miami, Florida to train in forensic pathology. That was a year long. So 6 years after medical school, I'm done with training. I'm board certified in those fields I'm trained in. So I'm board certified in anatomic, clinical, and forensic pathology. And I've been doing forensic pathology pretty much since completing fellowship in 1996.
All right, great. Now, you mentioned that you've been, I guess, mainly focused in forensic pathology. Would that be your specialty, per se?
Yes, it's a field of pathology that deals with, basically medical examiner and coroner type jurisdictional issues, and you're looking at and you're diagnosing what killed people in certain types of deaths.
Okay. Now, you mentioned 2 others, anatomic and clinical. What kind of pathologies do those cover, or what is that?
Anatomic pathology would be the branch of pathology that deals with diagnosing solid human tissue disorders, such as if you have a breast cancer, prostate cancer, lung cancer, it's solid human tissue diagnosis. Clinical pathology deals with the liquid human tissue stuff, like, let's say, leukemia, blood chemistry, things like that. So, and microbiology, bacteria in your blood. So you got solid and liquid. So anatomic is solid, clinical is liquid.
And now with forensic pathology, does that combine those two plus add the criminal field into it, or the criminal come into play with it?
Well, you get a little bit of autopsy pathology. You're doing hospital-type cases of people that died of natural diseases when you're doing residency. So you'll do a couple of hundred of those types of autopsies, and you'll try to figure out what killed someone if they're in the hospital. Then you take that and you're trained during your fellowship on, how to diagnose and properly describe, cases of trauma like gunshot wounds, stab wounds, traffic accidents, what to look for, and basically how to testify about and present your findings to the court.
All right, great. How long have you been a District 6 medical examiner?
I was, first appointed December 1st of the year 2000.
Okay, about 10 years almost, huh?
Yes.
What does your work include as a District 6 medical examiner? What are your duties day to day?
Medical examiners in Florida function under Florida Statute 406, and it's a statute that gives the medical examiner the authority to investigate certain types of deaths, and these are usually, trauma-type deaths or just completely unexpected deaths.
Okay. As part of your duties, do you perform autopsies?
Yes.
What is an autopsy?
An autopsy is a detailed medical surgical procedure where you examine the external and internal portions of a human body to try to figure out why they're dead. Actually, the word autopsy means to see for oneself. So, you're talking about photography, weighing, measuring, describing, and diagnosing. And then there's a death certificate that is derived and a certification of cause and manner of death that comes from that procedure.
As a District 6 medical examiner, can you estimate how many autopsies you performed in the 10 years in that position?
Yeah, I actually recently did a search on that. It's about 2,500. I've done about 2,500 since I came here 10 years ago, give or take.
Have you ever been qualified in a court of law as an expert in forensic pathology?
Yes.
Do you know how many times?
No, I don't know, maybe 100. I don't know more. I'm not really sure.
In this jurisdiction?
Let's see, just the 6th Circuit, and then also, the 5th Circuit, that's up around Leesburg, then Palm Beach County, that'd be the 15th Circuit, the 17th Circuit, that'd be Broward County or Fort Lauderdale, then of course, the 11th Circuit, that's Miami, and federal court, and I think I went to Michigan once.
Dr. Thogmartin, you mentioned you've been employed as a District 6 medical examiner for about 10 years. Is it safe to say that in April 2009 you were still employed?
Yes.
All right. On April 15th, 2009, did you perform an autopsy on a girl named Sarah Ludemann?
Yes.
Do you recall what time you performed that autopsy?
I have it recorded at 11 o'clock.
AM or PM?
That would be AM.
Your Honor, may I approach the clerk?
You may.
Now, Your Honor, obviously I'm going to be showing, at this point, or planning on showing autopsy photos of the deceased, and to preserve the victim's privacy, I'm going to try to angle them away, so can we have the jurors, if they need to move to see them better, do that?
They may move if they want.
Thank you. Your Honor, may I approach the witness with State's Exhibit 8 for identification?
You may.
Show it to the defense first.
The state is showing you the photographs. All three sets, Judge. We have no objection.
Okay, very good.
And you can mention that as you come to publish.
Okay. That's fine. At this time, State moves State's Exhibit 8 for identification and evidence as State's Exhibit 8.
All right. And what about the other ones? What are the numbers on the other ones? 9
and 10. If there's no objection, I'd move to enter those for identification and evidence as well.
All right. There's no objection, right, Mr. Abel?
No objection, Judge.
All right. They're all admitted into evidence.
May the witness step down to utilize the exhibit.
You may. And by the way, Mr. Dykes and Mr. Hebert, there is a stipulation or agreement between the state and the defense that the identity of the decedent in this case is Ms. Ludemann, is Sarah Ludemann.
Yes, sir.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Thogmartin, looking at these pictures, I see a number here. On the second picture, the bottom picture of Exhibit 8, can you please tell the jury what that number is?
This is a unique case identifier number. That's how we identify the cases. The 9 is the year 09. and then the remaining 4 digits, 0564. That means literally that she is the 564th person that came through the office, or 564th case of that year.
Now, the defense has stipulated the person pictured here is in fact Sarah Ludemann. When was the first time you saw Sarah Ludemann?
When she was in the autopsy room.
And where exactly did you conduct that autopsy? Where's that autopsy room located?
That's at the District 6 Medical Examiner. It's right next to the Sheriff's Office on Ulmerton Road.
Okay. Now, when we're talking about an autopsy, there's several parts, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And there's the scene where maybe somebody, an examiner from your office or an investigator will go to the scene, correct?
In cases where the body basically is dead at the scene and they're left at the scene, we do scene investigations. But in cases like this one where they go to the hospital, we're not scene investigators, we're death scene investigators, so we focus on the body. If the body's gone, we don't go to the scene.
Okay. There's an exterior exam?
Yes.
And an interior exam?
Yes.
Did you perform an exterior and interior exam on Sarah Ludemann as part of your autopsy?
Yes.
Okay. Can you please tell us generally the external findings you observed on Sarah Ludemann?
Well, she's, a little tall. She's about 5'9", normally developed. She looked to be about 18. The only really thing wrong with her at all was she had 2 sharp force injuries on the left side of her chest. There were some other minor little scratches, but these immediately stood out. Obviously, the large one on her left breast is the most significant one.
Okay. Now, when you perform an autopsy, do you typically write a report?
Yes.
Okay. And in your report, when you're dealing with traumatic injuries, you mentioned these 2 sharp object wounds here, do you typically classify them for organizational purposes as stab wound 1 or stab wound 2, or how do you do that?
Yeah, generally I'll either do A, B, C, D, sometimes even running out of letters of the alphabet for wounds, or I'll do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In this case, I did 1 and 2. It's pretty simple. Started at the top, went to the bottom, so that's number 1 and that's number 2.
So they're not necessarily ranked in order of severity or anything like that. It's just more the order in which you examine them.
Yes, and in her, the stab wound number 1 was definitely less severe than number 2. Number 2 is the stab wound that's did the most damage.
Okay. Now, before we get into a closer examination of the actual stab wounds, when you're viewing a person's body for examination and you're determining the type of wound that was received and how it was received and so forth, how are you viewing that person's body? Or how are you explaining your report? Something about an anatomical position?
Right. If you're talking about, where the wound is located, your right and left means the person's right and the person's left, the decedent's right, the decedent's left, not as you're looking at them. So if I say left, I mean her left chest. And then when I talk about the front, it's the front of her body when she's standing like this with her palms forward. So the front of her arm is actually the wrist. The front of the hand is the palm of the hand. This is the front, and then this is the back. Seems kind of routine. And then up is this way, down is this way. Even though she's laying down, that's the anatomic position. An upright person, palms forward.
Dr. Thogmartin, I'm showing you what's been entered into evidence as State's Exhibit 9. And for demonstrative purposes, I've labeled this as stab wound 1. Was this the first wound you analyzed and also designated as stab wound 1?
Yes.
All right. Please explain to the jury what we're looking at in this picture.
Well, this is her left shoulder. There's her face here. And this is the ruler again with the same case number. And this is basically a slit-like elliptical shaped skin defect caused by a sharp object. And I would immediately, note that as an injury, and then there's a subsequent exploration of that wound, depth, what it touches, what it does.
Okay. How large is stab wound number 1?
It's, as you can see, it's, maybe, let's see what I exactly measured it as.
And just so everyone's aware, you're referring to your report at this point? Okay.
I measured the stab wound. This stab wound is 2.1 by 0.4 centimeters. So it's about, give or take a little bit less than an inch in the largest dimension on the skin, and about 4 millimeters or 0.4 centimeters wide.
Okay. Now, when you're analyzing a stab wound as like the wounds that Ms. Ludemann received here, do you try to map the depth the wound travels into the body?
Yes.
Okay. Do you try to map the direction it takes as it enters the body and so forth?
Yes.
Okay. What can you tell us about this wound as far as depth and the direction and other observations you're able to make just from looking at this wound and analyzing it?
Well, it doesn't go very deep. It doesn't hit anything. There's a couple of large blood vessels here that are deeper in, but it misses that, misses everything. Just goes in maybe a little around a ½ inch, causes a little bleeding. Doesn't do anything. This would be something that would require a couple of stitches, and probably nothing would really occur.
Looking at this wound, does the wound tell you anything about the type of weapon that was used?
Well, I could say, not knowing anything at all, just if you gave me the body and showed it to me and says, what is this? I'd say, well, it's consistent with a knife. When you look at the wound itself, this lower corner is somewhat rough and squared. This upper corner was sharp, particularly when you push it together and look at it. You can kind of reconstruct how the wound was when the object perforated. So I would say it's most likely a single-edged blade, not a double-edged dagger with sharp edges on both sides. It's got one dull edge and one sharp edge. And I would say, to a reasonable medical probability, the sharp edge was on this side, the dull edge was on this side, because the skin gets abraded where the dull edge is. So I'd say the blade was oriented with sharp edge higher and to her left, dull edge medial and lower.
Okay. Now, can you explain for the jury the angle the weapon took as it entered Sarah Ludemann's body?
Yeah, in this one, it's so shallow that it's pretty much, you really can't tell, up or down, sideways, whatever. It's pretty much just going in. There's not enough depth, only, it's about this deep. I can't really tell you precisely how it was going. So, with that one, it's just in there a ½ inch. Can't really give you a direction.
Now, Dr. Thogmartin, knowing that the cutting edge of this instrument, the sharp instrument, was at the top, flat or straight or broader edge was here, as indicated by the tear pattern, can you say by looking at this photograph what type of injury this is? And when I say that, let me clarify. Is this, just between two, is this a slashing type injury?
No, this is a poke. This is a poke. I mean, depending on what exact type of blade, but this is your standard knife. This would be a poke. A razor blade, like let's say you have a square razor blade, those induce incised wounds, which is a large skin defect that doesn't go deep. It's a cut. It's a slash. I describe this as a stab wound. It's induced by poke. You can tell that from the abraded edge.
And Dr. Thogmartin, I'm showing you what's come into evidence as State's Exhibit 5. What do you see here?
That's a knife.
Okay. This knife, to a degree of medical certainty, could it have caused that injury?
I can't say that this is the knife that caused the injury. What I can say is I can't rule out this knife doing it. This is an instrument that could do this wound.
Is the shape of this knife, the type of cutting instrument, is consistent with the type of injury the victim received?
Sure, this knife could have done it. This, from my point of view, many different knives, but this would be, I can't rule it out as an injuring agent for this one.
And were this the knife used in this, and to inflict this injury, were this the knife that was used to inflict this injury to a degree of medical probability, can you determine if this knife would have caused a stabbing injury or a slashing injury or what?
Well, to get this injury, there's going to be a motion of, kind of a poke, but it's, again, we're talking a ½ inch. This is a ½ inch. So it's a very shallow wound, but could there be a movement over the skin? Sure, but this is a stab wound. This is a poke. Particularly with this knife, this is a stabbing type injury primarily. There may be some movement downward to create the small abrasion down here, but I called it a stab wound. It's a sharp force injury, certainly.
Dr. Thogmartin, you mentioned this injury is probably something that would cause a little bit of bleeding, perhaps a couple stitches. Was this the fatal blow that was dealt to Sarah Ludemann?
Not in any way, no.
Okay. Dr. Thogmartin, I'm now showing you State's Exhibit 10. What's entered into evidence is State's Exhibit 10. Do you recognize this exhibit?
Yes.
Okay. Tell the jury what's depicted here.
This is, again, this is to orient you, this is the chin of the decedent. This is her chin. This is the middle portion of her chest. So this is her left breast. And this is the wound that was on her left breast.
Okay. How large is the entrance wound of what's been marked here as stab wound number 2?
Well, it looks really, really big here because it's gaping. What you do, you reapproximate it as best you can.
When you say
And
reapproximate,
you push it together to get an idea, because this would be, I would measure this at something different than it really is. It would just, due to the fact that her breast is here and it's kind of falling to the side, it opens up the wound so the width gets artificially bigger. So what we do is we push it together to get a better idea of what the wound really is, you know, not accounting for gravity and tension. So I ended up pushing it together, and it's 8 centimeters by about 4 millimeters.
Okay. Now, obviously, when you view it, it's a lot wider than 4 millimeters, correct?
Yes, but if you take and push it together and reapproximate it, it gets to be about the same width as this one, which makes sense. If you take a wound and it's got a breast there, and then you almost cleave the breast in two, with gravity as the person's laying on the table, it's going to fall to the side because the skin's ruptured. So it'll artifactually make it look much bigger. So this is a 8 centimeter wound, but when you reapproximate it, it's only about 4 millimeters wide.
But based upon your experience, it was the knife that caused this wound to look like this, or no?
Well, it was a knife that did this. This is the knife. This is described this way. This is the wound that was inflicted.
Were you able to chart the depth this wound traveled into Miss Ludemann's chest?
I have the wound measured. Well, it's approximation, because if I have a stab wound in my chest and I take a deep breath, it just got an inch deeper. If I exhale, I just got 2 inches. If I exhale a lot, it may be 2 inches or an inch less deep. So I'm talking about a static resting chest, and when I say depth, it's approximate because the chest moves in and out. So I have this measured at about 2.5 inches deep.
Okay. Now, going 2.5 inches deep into a person's body, I imagine you can strike quite a few organs. Is that the case here?
Yeah, right underneath this, pretty much, and a little bit over to her right is the heart. So this is pretty much right over the heart.
Okay. Can you explain for the jury the path the weapon that caused this injury to her chest took through her body?
Well, it went into the fatty tissue of her chest, into the muscles, our pectoral muscles here, cut through her 4th rib, and then your left lung kind of overlays your heart just a little bit in this area. So it got her left lung. Then it went through her pericardial sac. It's the sac that holds the heart. And then it went into the right ventricle of our heart. And that's the fatal injury.
Okay. So we got this knife traveling through skin, through fat, through muscle, through a lung, through a rib, not necessarily in that order. I think I'm messing up the order. And ultimately terminating in her heart?
Yeah, it terminated within the right ventricle of her heart.
Okay. Now, a stab wound to the heart, that sounds pretty severe.
It's bad.
Was this the fatal blow?
This is the fatal injury. This is why I classified it, just this wound being the cause of death as opposed to the other.
Now, when you're examining, as part of your internal examinations, one of the things you look for, quantity of blood loss or quantity of blood pooling within the chest or anything of that nature?
Yes.
Okay. Approximately how much blood were you able to find pooled into her cavity, her chest cavity, from this injury?
She had a lot. So there's going to be blood coming out of her heart. There's going to be blood coming out of the perforated lung, and then there's a hole in her pericardial sac and her pleural cavity that are going to communicate. So the blood is coming out of her heart. It's going to accumulate in the sac around her heart. 300 milliliters of blood was found there, but then an additional 2 liters of blood was found in her chest cavity. So her lung collapsed due to the accumulating blood and the air from the perforated lung. So she had a pretty large, what we call a hemopneumothorax.
Okay. And there would have also been blood with a wound that size leaving her body as well, correct?
Yeah, I think there'd be, obviously there's blood vessels in the skin and such, but a woman of her size may have, 4.5 liters, maybe 4 liters of blood, give or take. She's lost about 2, a little bit over 2, so half her blood volume is contained outside of her blood vessels within her body. That's going to cause, severe shock. I don't know how much would come out, but there's going to be some that would come out. But her primary blood loss is internal.
Looking at this wound and perhaps the tear patterns of the wound and so forth, can you estimate the type of weapon that was used to cause this injury?
Well, ignoring all the circumstances that I've come to know, this is a sharp force injury. If you were to ask me what I think, just looking at the body alone, just looking at the wound, I mean, obviously it cut through a rib. If it's a piece, we do x-rays, I'm looking for broken pieces of whatever it would be, like let's say it's a piece of glass or something, maybe it would break off. There's nothing in the wound. If you were to ask me what I would guess would be the thing, ignoring everything, I would say this is a knife wound. And I couldn't really tell you if it was double or single edge based on this particular wound, unlike the previous wound. I wouldn't be able to tell you if it was double or single.
And why is that?
Well, in this wound, it's a little different. That wound had a nice abraded, squared off edge. This one here has sharp edges. You see the sharp corner here, sharp corner, and then it almost has a doubled sharp corner here. So I have sharp corners on both sides. So if you just gave me the wound, I wouldn't be able to tell if it was single or double-edged. A single-edged knife can make sharp corners on both ends. It just depends on how it goes in.
Now, looking at this wound, does this appear to be a slashing or a wound received in a defensive type posture?
I can't really answer that question. This is a stab wound. This is a knife that's going into the person, and I think due to the fact that she has a breast here that's relatively mobile, and you see some stab wounds like this where the knife goes in, maybe at an unusual angle. There's movement, there's dynamic movement of the person with the knife, the person that's getting the knife put into them. And so there's either movement of the knife causing an enlargement of the wound, or there's a movement of the person relative to the knife causing an enlargement of the wound. So I can't really answer that question.
Okay. But the knife traveling through the skin, through the fat, through the muscle, through the rib, through the lung, and into the heart, is that consistent with an actual stab, or is that more deliberate with a slash or defensive wound of that nature?
All I can answer is anatomically, the knife went into her. This would be consistent with the knife being put in, or, the person being put on the knife, one of the two. This takes unless it's a razor sharp knife, it's going to take some effort to put it in. The more dull the knife, the more effort. Like if it's a spoon, it's going to take a lot of effort. If it's a razor sharp blade, it's going to take very little effort. So it really is dependent. The amount of force is not really measurable by me. It's more dependent on the knife. But in general, like the knife you showed me, it would be like trying to put it through a steak. Your steak knife trying to put it through a steak would be generally what you're talking about.
All right. Dr. Thogmartin, based upon your autopsy of Ms. Ludemann and within the bounds of reasonable medical certainty, have you formed an expert opinion concerning the cause of Sarah Ludemann's death?
Yes, I certified her death on the death certificate as stab wound of chest.
Okay. And the manner of death?
Homicide.
Now, Dr. Thogmartin, you're talking about you have to view the victim's body here in an anatomical position. It's a pretty neutral position. What are you able to tell us hypothetically about the wound? You can't necessarily approximate, exactly what the parties were doing at the time the wound was occurred, can you?
No.
What are we dealing with?
The only...
Dr. Thogmartin, can you answer the question that I just asked?
Can you repeat it?
Sure. When you are performing an autopsy and you're looking at injuries, especially injuries of this nature, scientifically and anatomically, what sort of things are you able to see and read and determine from your autopsy?
Well, there's some things that I can say with reasonable medical or scientific certainty. I can orient the knife. I can say how far, the object, I'm saying knife, the sharp object went in. So this wound here, the sharp, it's a single edge knife that did this little wound up here, and the sharp edge is up, the dull edge is down, and it went in about that far, about a half inch. Didn't do anything, had nothing to do with her death. Would have caused a little bleeding, some pain, that's it. This wound here is a stab wound. From the wound track is small. The hole in the heart is about 1 centimeter, so it's not a 8 centimeter gigantic knife that sliced her like that all the way through. The wound track is about this big, which would be like similar to the knife you showed me. I can't say the orientation of the knife, but this top edge is doubled, meaning 2 corners here, you can see them. So the knife is probably, again, pointing up. The sharp edge is on the upside, similar to that one. So it's probably held this way, or at least the knife is held this way with the edge up, one of the two. So the knife is pointing up. And then when it went in at some point, either on the way in or probably most likely on the way out, the cutaneous wound was enlarged because there's a mobile breast tissue here and there was movement of the knife or the person. So those are the things I can say with reasonable certainty. Exactly how the 2 people, approached each other or how the knife was held, that's something I cannot tell. I would, refer to the circumstances, and I can say this scenario is likely, or this one, I can rule out certain things. But I can think of 1,000 different ways where this knife wound occurred. So my orientation is totally body and sharp instrument. That's it.
Okay. Dr. Thogmartin, how old did you say her recorded age was?
I had her at 18.
Okay. Approximately how tall?
5'9".
All right. Hypothetically, you have a person who's shorter than that, 5'4" or so. Hypothetically, Dr. Thogmartin, if that person with this knife approached Sarah Ludemann and had a face-to-face confrontation with her, and then with a knife in her hand, punched her in a downward motion, are these injuries consistent with that hypothetical?
It would be close. I mean, you could make it happen. It would be a motion more like this, not so much downward. If you're talking about relative to the earth, it wouldn't be like this unless she was laying down on her back. If you're saying they're face to face, the motion would have to be like this, or if they're taller, she's taller, you'd have to be kind of like this. So the knife is actually going into her pretty much like this angle, about like this. And this wound is like this. So we've got an angle about like this going in. If you can make a downward angle more if you bend her over. You can make less of one if you bend her back. You see, so, people aren't walking around around the earth in anatomic positions, which is how I'm testifying. They move, they twist. So take that as a hedge factor in that people move, they bend over.
And Doctor, you can take your seat. Thank you. Your Honor, may I have a moment?
May.
Your Honor, there's no further questions at this time.
Before we begin, we have a
Sure.
Please, the court. Good afternoon, Doctor. I have just a couple of questions for you.
Okay.
Sarah was 166 pounds,
That's what we weighed her at the time when she's on the autopsy table.
and she was 69 inches,
Yes,
which would put her at 5'9".
5'9".
All right. There were also, as part of your office's investigation, there were labs that were done in this particular case?
Yes.
And you tested for different substances that were in her system, correct?
Yeah, we're required to do that under Florida Administrative Code.
Okay.
So yes.
But you did not test for the presence of marijuana in her system, did you, sir?
No, we don't routinely test for marijuana unless they're like the driver of a motor vehicle or, an operator of a machine.
Okay. That's all I have, Judge. Thank you.
Thank you. Any redirect?
Briefly, Your Honor. Y'all didn't test for marijuana, but you did test for alcohol, correct?
Yes.
All right. Did she have any alcohol in her system?
No.
Methanol?
No, she had nothing at all.
What other controlled substances or chemicals was she tested for?
All the really bad ones, amphetamines, barbiturates, cocaine, all sorts of opiates, methadone, pretty much all the drugs of abuse.
Okay.
And that's routine.
And did she test positive for any of those in her system?
No.
All right. Thank you.
Anything else from the defense? All right. Thank you, doctor. You are excused. What says the state?
Your Honor, at this time, the state rests.
Thank you. All right, members of the jury, as much as it is lunchtime, this is a very good time for a lunch break. We may be dealing with some legal issue.
Okay, so I have a question for you guys. Since it is early, we got through. She has not barked except for every time I've hit pause. Anyway, the state's rested. There is some argument outside the presence of the jury that I was going to play tomorrow. It's about 35 minutes long, and I will be happy to do that now, and we can get that out of the way for tomorrow. We can go straight into the defense opening. She's doing something, Haley. I wouldn't call it speaking. She's been annoying. So this girl went looking for the girl who threatened to unalive her while she was stone cold sober. I think they both were. Because I think the defendant, Rachel, had just gotten off work and went over there. And then Sarah had left her house, or was supposed to be going home, but didn't, for her curfew. So yeah, I think they were both stone cold sober. Whoopsies. I'm trying to get you guys' I'm trying to get, if I miss your comments that get held, I'm trying to get them. But then I like, bad dazzers. I'm just like, whoopsies, I hit it. All right, give me a sec. What's up, Flashman? You're okay. We got through the two lead investigators and the ME pretty quick, so we're gonna listen to outside the presence of the jury. We're gonna listen to some argument outside the presence of the jury, so we can start the defense's case in chief tomorrow, and the defense, remember, he will give his opening statement tomorrow because we have not heard that yet. I think him and the judge are pretty much arguing here. I don't know that we have to, I don't know that we'll watch all of it because I don't know that we need to, but we'll, oopsies. Remember my first day streaming. Good grief. What happened? The medical examiner came on. He's pretty good. Pretty straightforward. Just, here's what it is. Sarah there was no alcohol, drugs, nothing in her system. She was completely sober. My guess is that Rachel was as well. So the only winner in this is the third girl in the love hexagon, I guess, but I don't know. I don't know. Sometimes I think I should keep my thoughts to myself. If he has not changed his life, I don't know that she was the winner because she had a child, and if he's not in that child's life, hopefully she found somebody who wants to be and is. I'll say it that way. How about that? I don't want to be mean. I'm not trying to be mean. No, the guy with the I thought you said that attorney was depressing. That's why I called him Attorney Eeyore, because he's so monotone. The guy with the mustache was the second lead detective, and then we went to the ME. But the second detective didn't really have anything to say. I don't know. He didn't add a lot. He found the knife. You were here. He found the knife on the roof. Roof. Whatever. Up on the house. I don't know. They're all depressing. They might be. But yeah, we'll start the defense tomorrow, Flashman. But yeah, it's short. Very, very short. Yes, I know, Bad Dazzler. That is what she said.
Any motions by the defense?
Yes, Judge, Mr. Douglas is going to handle that for the defense, but I do want to make sure now the state has rested that all of the state witnesses that have not been released are still present and available for testimony, specifically Javier Laboy and Joshua Camacho. The state elected not to call them, so I plan on calling them. Javier told me this morning that he was told by a representative from the state attorney's office he was not going to be needed, so he could leave. I'm a little concerned about that. I know that the attorneys had nothing to do with that. It was probably somebody from victim witness that said they weren't using him, but...
What I said to them is he was needed in the morning, and that he may be needed in the afternoon, so you have the opportunity to call.
I just want to make sure that both are available. They're under subpoena, and I haven't seen Mr. Camacho, but I anticipate calling him probably second after Mr. Laboy, after opening statements.
Well, that may end up being an issue here. Let's have both of those witnesses here as soon as possible. Okay. Now, the reason I said that may be an issue is because I would assume that Ms. Wade is going to testify in this case, but obviously that's up to her, and we'll get to that soon. Obviously, if you want to advance a self-defense argument, then it may be helpful to have Ms. Wade take the stand, but that's up to the defense. Now, as we've been saying, what is relevant is her mindset, what she knew about at the time of the incident and how that affected her behavior as far as whether or not she was acting in self-defense. And then any specific acts of violence or threats by Sarah that she knows about are relevant as to her mindset at the time. And then you can put witnesses on to corroborate those specific threats or those specific acts of violence in order to show that the defendant isn't just making those up, that in fact those threats that she was aware of or those specific acts of violence of Sarah that she was aware of did actually exist, that she's not just making those up, that other witnesses can corroborate the fact that those things really existed. So Mr. Lavoie, I believe, was there at the time of the incident, so he may not involve corroboration of any prior threats, if there are any, or any prior specific acts of violence that the defendant knew about. So I can understand why you may want to call him first. As far as Mr. Camacho is concerned, my understanding is that you wanted to call him as a witness to corroborate the fact that the defendant knew that he had a gun. So obviously, you're not going to be able to do that before she takes the stand. Understand what I'm saying?
You're saying that we need to have that in evidence before we then use that to corroborate.
Right, because it's not relevant until she takes the stand and she says that her mindset was that she was in fear of Sarah Ludemann, apparently because she knew that Joshua had a gun and she thought maybe that Sarah may end up with a gun or whatever it is was actually going through her mind at that time. And then you can put witnesses on to corroborate the fact that Joshua did have a gun and there may have been some threats and that sort of thing. But that's really not going to become relevant or material to corroborate her testimony until we hear her testimony.
Fair enough. However, his testimony, absent the gun issue, I believe is relevant. He is listed as a state's witness. He does shed a tremendous amount of light on this particular fact pattern, if you will. So perhaps what I will do is call him and prior to Ms. Wade testifying, have Ms. Wade testify, then subject him to a recall on the particular issue of the gun.
You can certainly do that.
All right. I don't know what we'll do. Again, I don't know if Ms. Wade will testify. We certainly need to talk to her about that. Ultimately, it's her decision, as you know. So Mr. Douglas is prepared to make the JOA argument at this time.
Very good. Mr. Douglas, you may proceed.
Judge, good afternoon. As Mr. Aver said, I'm going to make the JOA argument. And as you know, the burden at this point is we have to view all the evidence in a light most favorable to the state. And I've got two issues to raise for the court. The first is that the state has failed to prove a prima facie case of second-degree murder, specifically as to the issue that there was an unlawful killing by an act eminently dangerous to another and demonstrating a depraved mind without regard for human life. And that comes from the jury instructions, as the court knows. That last statement is defined in the jury instructions as, one, a person of ordinary judgment would know is reasonably certain to kill or do serious bodily injury, and two, done from ill will, hatred, spite, or evil intent, and three, act as if such a nature that the act itself indicates an indifference to human life. And Judge, if we look back and remember the testimony and the evidence that has been presented to the court, I'd like to start with Ms. Lovelady. Ms. Lovelady does not offer any testimony as to that ill will, evil intent, spite. She does offer testimony as to the prior drama, but that's about it. She was not an eyewitness to the actual crime itself. When we go to the state's next witness, Ms. Jaleesa Smith, she has some testimony involving that issue. She testified that she didn't know Miss Wade prior to this night, and she wasn't aware of any of the history that she had with Mr. Camacho or Miss Ludemann. She goes on further to testify that she did hear the statement in the van that was on speakerphone, but the 911 call indicates that Miss Smith did not think she was going to do anything, she being Rachel in this case. She further saw Sarah get out of the vehicle after she testified that she herself, being Miss Smith, saw the knife, and that both girls put their hands up as if to fight. Further, Judge, Ms. Smith on the 911 call indicates that, quote, I don't know how she was stabbed. The other 911 call quote is, I saw the knife, I didn't think she was going to use it. And so, Judge, what this goes towards the ill will, evil intent, spite is nobody thought, and in specific, Ms. Smith thought Ms. Wade was going to use it. There was no indication that she was going to use it. These quotes are saying that we didn't think she was going to use it. The next witness, Judge, is Janet Camacho, and she testified that she is familiar with the drama between Ms. Wade, Ms. Ludemann, and Mr. Camacho. She testifies that in the van she heard on speakerphone that there was yelling, both sides. She does admit candidly. She does testify to the statement of, I'm going to stab you and your Mexican boyfriend, and that's coming from Miss Wade. However, at that point in time, she does testify that nobody calls the cops, and in fact, they drove by Miss Ludemann's house. And instead of going home, they continued to look for Miss Wade. And that, Judge, ultimately led to what happened. They get to Javier LeBoy's house. Ms. Camacho indicates that she saw the knife, that the van stopped abruptly, but that she did remember Sarah getting out of the vehicle. This was not something that occurred in the vehicle. Sarah got out, and that there was a tussle that ensued. The problem is, Judge, is Ms. Camacho did not offer any testimony as to being able to see the tussle or even the stabbing. Quote, Ms. Camacho says, she doesn't know who threw the first punch. And additionally, Judge, from the standpoint of Ms. Camacho, she can't offer anything to this court about the ill will of that act or the evil intent because she didn't see it. Judge, next we had Dustin Grimes testify through video. And there was a couple statements that came out in his testimony that further showed that the state has not proven that evil will, that evil intent, ill will. Quote, Justin Grimes heard, I'm going to kill that bitch, but he thought it was a figure of speech. He termed it as just talking smack. He also described Miss Wade as being upset. And at the end of the day, with the quote that he did hear from the standpoint of Mrs. Wade saying it, he said he didn't think anything was going to happen. And so, Judge, as to the first issue regarding whether or not the state has proved a prima facie case of second-degree murder, we have to look back to that instruction, that jury instruction, and whether or not the testimony that has been provided to the court through actual live testimony, video testimony, and evidence can establish that ill will, that hatred, that spite. All witnesses that testified for the state, Judge, testified that they did not think that Miss Wade was going to use a knife. They didn't think she was going to use the knife, clearly because they drove over there that night. My client, and if we assume Ms. Camacho and Ms. Smith's statement is correct, that there was a car down the street from Ms. Camacho's house, and that in fact was Ms. Wade did not carry out any of the threats that she had made at that point. She drove back home, or I'm sorry, to Javier's house, and sat there. Ultimately, Judge, Ms. Ludemann, Ms. Camacho, and Ms. Smith approached my client. And Judge, going back to the whole ill will thing, Detective Lynch did testify that when Ms. Wade did actually find out that Ms. Ludemann had passed away, she was, I believe his quote was, she was visibly upset. And that was the first time that she had actually found out that she was in fact dead. Based on all of that, Judge, the most the state could assert, if we're assuming all the evidence is most favorable to the state, is a manslaughter, and that would be through the culpable negligence section of that statute and that instruction. So I'd ask the court for a JOA on the second-degree murder as to that first issue. As to the second issue, Judge, the defense has asserted a defense through cross-examination and through the state's candidly own testimony of self-defense. And in this kind of case, if the defense does assert a defense of self-defense, there must be a showing by the state that disproves that theory. And Judge, if we could go back again through the witness testimony to look at what actually was adduced to the court and to the jury. Ashley Lovelady, although she did not see the actual incident, what she did do and how she was so key in this self-defense case is the fact that she was the catalyst that started the whole chain reaction. She gave the location of where Miss Wade was that night. Secondly, Judge, we go to Jaleesa Smith. She testifies, quote, she was pretty sure something bad was going to happen. The next quote from Jaleesa, I don't think we could have stopped her being Sarah Ludemann. Ultimately, Judge, they do get to the scene. Jaleesa says she saw Rachel with a knife. She then saw Sarah get out of the van. She then sees, we've already referenced this, both girls put their hands up as if to fight. So it's clear, based on that testimony, that Sarah was there to fight. It wasn't in a defensive mode. She didn't testify that it was defensive. It was as if to fight. And Judge, she quoted that Sarah was clearly mad and clearly bigger than my client. Janet Camacho's testimony as to self-defense. We go back to the initial incident at Ms. Camacho's house. Ms. Camacho says that Rachel was down the street. Nothing happened. She flashed her lights a little bit and left. Next, we go into the van. Clearly, there's yelling on both sides, very heated, a lot of cussing. We hear the threat, yet that doesn't stop them from continuing to look for my client. There were no calls to the police to say, hey, police, we're pretty scared this might happen. They continued looking for her. And if my client did make that statement, it's a fair assumption that she made it, and now they're coming after her. I think it's fairly well established that Ms. Ludemann was driving the van in a fast manner. I think Janet testified she was speeding. Jaleesa said that she was whipping around corners, and she was not driving in an otherwise normal fashion. Janet Camacho says that she saw the knife, and then Sarah got out of the van. So now we've got Jaleesa and Janet both seeing the knife in Miss Wade's hand, and then seeing Sarah get out of the van. And Judge, I would submit to the court that that would indicate that this person was not afraid of Miss Wade, and in fact, she was going after Miss Wade as she did with the van. And Judge, the last quote from Ms. Camacho that goes specifically to the issue of self-defense is, I think it was the last thing that she said on the stand was, quote, "She doesn't want to deal with me." That's from Janet, indicating that Miss Wade doesn't want to deal with her. Clearly, there were 3 people in that car, and clearly Sarah felt that there was strength in numbers. As to Dustin Grimes' testimony, he testified on direct that all 3 girls got out of the van at the same time. Now, I'm not talking about the conflict in the evidence, but I'm talking about that he's able to establish and testify to the fact that there were, in fact, 3 girls, and that Rachel would have been able to see those 3 girls. Additionally, that the victim, Ms. Ludemann, grabbed Rachel by the hair and struck her in the face and head 3 to 4 times before Rachel began to defend herself. So, Judge, on that second issue, the state's own witnesses and own testimony established a case of self-defense. And through cross-examination by Mr. Hebert, we furthered that assertion of self-defense. There is nothing that we have seen that can say that it was not self-defense. And Judge, for those 2 reasons and those 2 issues that we've stated, we'd ask that the court grant first our motion for judgment of acquittal on the self-defense issue, and alternatively grant our motion for acquittal on the second-degree murder and find that the state has only proven and shown a manslaughter. Thank you.
Thank you. At the immunity hearing, which we had several weeks or months ago, the defense actually had the burden of proof, and that burden of proof was by the preponderance of the evidence to show that the defendant acted in self-defense. And I would have to look at the totality of the circumstances and make findings of fact, and then determine if the defense met its burden of proof. And I ultimately decided that they had not during that immunity hearing. What the court has to look at now, after the state has presented its case at trial, is whether or not the state has shown a prima facie case of murder in the second degree and has presented enough evidence to go to the jury on that issue, and if they have presented enough evidence that is inconsistent with the defense of self-defense. Because the state does have the burden of proving the elements of second-degree murder, and they also have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that the incident was not an incident involving self-defense. Because if there is a reasonable doubt that there is self-defense, then the jury has to find the defendant not guilty. Now, when I look at whether or not there is a prima facie case, I have to look at things in the light most favorable to the state. That is, if there is conflict in the evidence, I have to look at what evidence is most productive or most helpful for the state and determine if there is enough evidence there to even go to the jury. Evidence was definitely presented during the state's case that there was animosity between the defendant and the victim, and that animosity had been brewing over a long period of time over the same issue, that involving this boy and who it is who's going to be dating or seeing this boy. And we've heard the phone messages that the defendant left on the victim's phone. Now, these phone messages were about 5 to 9 months before the stabbing, but they were not remote or too remote in time to be admissible because they involve an ongoing animosity which is brewing over a long period of time over the same issue. And it just shows how long this animosity was brewing and how it ended up coming to a head. On April the 15th, Rachel then calls Sarah and says, I'm going to stab you and your Mexican boyfriend, according to the evidence in the light most favorable to the state. Meanwhile, Rachel Wade is at the house of Javier, and according to Dustin Grimes, she is, quote, upset and enraged, end quote, and she is yelling on the phone. Rachel, at one point, says, I'm going to kill that effing bitch. The defendant then is at Javier's house outside with the knife, in the light most favorable to the state, perhaps waiting for Sarah to appear or hoping that Sarah may appear. Javier and Dustin are there as well. They are friends of the defendant. And then, of course, Sarah, Janet, and Jaleisha appear with Sarah driving the van rather quickly. She stops the van about 4 or 5 feet away from the defendant's vehicle. Now, all of the witnesses that the state has presented all indicate that Rachel was an aggressor to some point. Janet indicates that the defendant walked all the way from her car to the driver's side door, and then this altercation occurred outside of the driver's side door. So the defendant had to walk a long way, and she was an aggressor in that she walked all that way. Now, there's some inconsistency with the testimony of Janet, and that the other two witnesses indicated that Sarah got out of the car and she moved toward Rachel as well. But both of those witnesses indicate that Rachel was an aggressor as well, and that she moved toward Sarah and moved at least halfway. According to Mr. Grimes, the defendant moved at least halfway, and according to Jaleisha, she moved more than halfway. So, in the light most favorable to the state, the defendant has a knife in her hand, and she's moving toward Sarah. So in the light most favorable to the state, we have a defendant who has a lot of animosity toward the victim, which is coming to a head this night. Things have been brewing. She's upset, and she has a knife, and she's moving toward Sarah. Then, of course, the defendant and the victim have an altercation, which according to everyone lasts only about 5 seconds. The defendant stabs the victim twice, as we just heard, once in the shoulder and once square in the heart. And it's about 2.5 inches in, and it would take the force of using a knife to stab into a steak. Now, we didn't hear any evidence what kind of steak it was. If it was a high quality one where it would be easy for a knife to go in or not, but it does take a significant amount of force to take a knife and stab it into a human being, into a heart, that goes in for about 2.5 inches. So that is consistent with ill will, hatred, spite, or an evil intent. And I will mention that the jury instruction doesn't say and. It says or. Is done from ill will, hatred, spite, or an evil intent. Then after the stabbing, according to the state's witnesses, in the light most favorable to them, the defendant is holding the knife, and then Janet gets into an altercation with the defendant while the defendant still has the knife. And Janet is beating up Rachel a lot more significantly than Sarah had any opportunity to do. Janet apparently is taking off her flip-flop and is beating her with a shoe. She's beating her with her hands, and she's dragging her by the hair, I've heard. So what Janet did to the defendant was a whole lot more significant than Sarah had any opportunity to do. And the light most favorable to the state, here we have the defendant not using the knife. And the light most favorable to the state, why not? Because her ill will, hatred, spite, or evil intent is for Sarah. It's not for Janet. So the fact that the defendant doesn't use the knife on Janet when Janet is the one that's really hurting her shows that she has the ill will, hatred, spite, or evil intent for Sarah, and it shows an action and an inaction that is inconsistent with the self-defense. Then I've heard, in the light most favorable to the state, that after the stabbing, Rachel seems rather proud of herself and rather happy about the situation and is smiling. Now, eventually she becomes very upset. But when does she become upset? When she finds out that Sarah is dead, not when she finds out that Sarah is stabbed, because obviously she knows that. When she thinks that Sarah is just stabbed, she's smiling. And she becomes really upset when she finds out that Sarah is dead. And in the light most favorable to the state, that may just be because she knows she's in big trouble now. And again, that can be subject to different interpretations, but in the light most favorable to the state, that is certainly a viable interpretation. And then what does she end up doing with the knife? But she throws it on the roof of the neighbor's house, which again is something that is inconsistent with self-defense. So I am going to find that there is a prima facie case that has been presented by the state of murder in the second degree, and there is enough inconsistent evidence of self-defense that the matter can go to the jury. All right, so when we get back, we'll hear the opening statement from the defense, and then you will present your witnesses. Obviously, if you're not going to present any witnesses, then there's really no need for an opening statement at this point, so I assume you are going to put some witnesses on.
Yes.
All right, now, obviously, it is up to the defendant and the defendant alone whether or not she wants to take the stand. Obviously, some strategic issues are strictly up to the lawyer, but whether or not the defendant takes the stand is her decision and her decision alone. Obviously, she should listen to her lawyers about her options and about what their opinions of things may be and about the possible advantages and possible disadvantages of being a witness in this case. But Ms. Wade, do you understand that the decision about whether or not you testify is strictly your decision?
Yes.
Okay. And do you want some more time to speak to your lawyers about your options during the lunch break? Okay. Now, I don't know how it is you want to do this, Mr. Hebert, but I would assume that you're going to know what she's going to do before your opening statement, because if you know she's going to take the stand, you're probably going to want to get into what it is she's going to say while she's on the stand. And then if you know she's not going to take the stand, then obviously you're not going to get into what she's going to testify to, because she's not going to testify. So do you think it would be appropriate for me to ask her when we get back before your opening statement?
I think that's an appropriate time, Judge. I think that's a fair assessment, although we will evaluate it as the evidence comes out.
Well, you can certainly change your mind, or Rachel can certainly change her mind afterwards. But of course, if an opening statement you say that
right, we've run the
testify and all the things that she's going to say, and then if she does not testify, obviously that's something that the state can mention in closing argument.
Sure.
All right.
Judge, I have one other legal issue that I'd like to ask the court to reconsider. I'm going to renew my objection with regard to Detective Lynch's testimony with regard to the knife being thrown on the roof and who told him to throw the knife, or who told him where the knife was. And I think Lynch and then the other detective, Benning, came in and testified how he got up on the roof. You would not let this jury hear that it was Rachel who told them where the knife was. I think that issue may not be hearsay because it goes to Rachel's state of mind. At that point in time, she had found out that Sarah was dead, and she was cooperating with the investigation, and that shows an absence of the issues you just discussed with regard to second-degree murder. So I'm going to ask the court to reconsider that issue for the record so that, that this jury would be able to hear that Rachel was the one that told the detectives where to find the knife, because it certainly shows her state of mind. If she was trying to be deceptive, if she was trying to not man up, if you will, then you would have had her not say anything. The reality of it is they found the knife because of the direction given by Rachel, not by Janet saying it was thrown, because obviously that didn't happen, according to the detectives. So I'm going to ask the court to reconsider that with regard to state of mind.
All right. Well, as I said before, the state could get out the fact that Detective Blessing looked on the roof because he was told that he should go and look on the roof. So it wouldn't make any sense if the jury just heard that Detective Blessing all of a sudden they decided to look on the roof. The only thing that came out as to why it was he was looking on the roof was because he was told by another detective to go look on the roof. And then that would not be admitted for the purpose of proving the out-of-court statement is factual. So it would not be hearsay. But as to who it was who told the detective that it was on the roof, that would be, it was self-serving hearsay. Now, as far as state of mind, maybe that goes to the state of mind of the defendant at the time that she told the detective about it, but I'm not really sure that that's all that relevant. What would be relevant is her state of mind at the time of the stabbing. Obviously, we've already heard that she became upset when she found out that Sarah was dead, so I'm not really sure how relevant that would be for showing the defendant's state of mind.
Does the court want to address that? If I call her in her direct examination, would she be able to, via state of mind, tell the jury that she's the one that told the officers where the knife was?
If she takes the stand, I will allow her to do that.
Okay. That clears that up. Thank you, Judge.
All right, thank you. All right.
See you back here at 2 o'clock or
2 o'clock. Well, what time did I let the jury out? A long time ago now, right?
All right, we don't need to hear them argue about what time you let the jury out. Who cares? Let me get this up. Yes, fantastic. All right, nothing is happening yet. I know a lot of you, gosh dang it, have watched this. I've not watched it. I have, I've read some crazy stuff about it though. And I did see where the cameraman was supposed to not show the undercover officer and showed the undercover officer. I think Court TV corrected that, but it's out there because you can't take that back. Once it's out, it's out. I have not watched anything. It's just, I haven't had time. There is no more Court TV. I know. I guess I don't need that because it's, not covering it, but oh well, I'll move it in a little bit. But no, I have not watched, I've not watched any live trials in a while, which I used to. So this is, for you, those of you that maybe you don't know, this is the Corey, is it Richens case? Stop it. She is on trial for unaliving her husband and then apparently writing a book about it, but then didn't it come out that the the book was written by a ghostwriter, so she didn't even write the book. It's been in the works. This trial has been in the works for a long time. It took years to get this to trial, which is kind of the norm anymore. Sometimes everything goes really quick, but this one has not. It's kind of like Courtney Clenny. I thought this one would have been done and over with a long time ago. Courtney Clenny, I mean, the evidence that I have seen so far, she's probably not walking out of, the jail, but she has been in jail for years waiting for this to come to trial. And I think she's starting to lose it a little bit. Some of her actual writing came out in court too, and it's a good thing someone else wrote the book. And it was a children's book. Like, what'd you say, Shani? Keep an eye out for the judge's head. The judge head. I will keep an eye out for the judge's head. You did that one, Flashman, right? Did you do that one? Baker did that one. I can't keep up. I generally judge head, judge dread. It's all the same. I generally know who's doing which trial for some reason, and I don't have time to watch them all. But I still kind of know what everybody's doing. Kind of silly. But this one looked like a mess. Now, if they're right here at 8:20, has the judge been prompt so far? Because I will be shocked. I figured we would finish up before they got there. What's up, AT1? You wrote better stories with your first grade vocabulary. Just saying. Oh, we have movement in the court. Head judge, judge head, whatever. It all works. She's totally sucked at writing anything. Whew. Guys are... Well, you watched it, so I have zero opinion on it. Other than it's funny. I mean, listen, if she did it, and this trial, just the little blurbs I've read, has been weird. If she did it, I hope she's found guilty. If she did not do it, I hope she's found innocent. I say that on all the trials. It doesn't always go that way. We've had them, come out in both directions of where we thought they got it right or got it wrong. With the Rachel Wade trial, I think she's very lucky that she did not get charged with first degree, and she got charged with second degree. Even though, to me, she showed up with the knife. She got out of the car with the knife. If she felt like she was in fear, she never even had to get out. She could have just kept driving. And none of it would have happened. She wouldn't have got beat up. She wouldn't have got the chanclas, whatever those shoes are called, that beat the crap out of your shoes. She wouldn't have got hit with those. She wouldn't be sitting where she's sitting. Like, so many things could have been avoided. Families wouldn't have been destroyed if she would have just kept driving. Or if Sarah would have just kept going home. But they both had to be right. He be late, they be late in time. Judge is so tall, the top of his head will be seen. I don't think that Delphi was a good verdict. There was so much secrecy around that trial, And so many things were kept from the public and kept from the jury. And so many weird things that you heard that went on with that jury, of them just being able to talk about the case while the trial was going on, and the like deputies talking to them. It was weird. So weird. Like, it's sad. I don't, even if they can get it overturned and get him a new trial with an honest judge, I don't know that you can get him back. So much has been done to him. And I'm just talking mentally. I don't know that he can come back from it. Absolutely. And you know what? People think that if you say that you're crazy, right? That those things don't happen. Like, that's just it's just craziness. The FBI, before they kicked them out and said that there was a ritualistic killing, like, and so many strange things have happened around that whole trial, that whole town. It's just sad. And I'm not saying maybe he was involved. Maybe he was. I don't know. That's the problem. I don't know. But if he wasn't the only one. I think you did, Flash Fan. I think you did. Yeah, they need to redo it. Yep, new judge. Because they even moved out of the county to get a good jury. Although in this state, you'd have to be not paying attention to anything to not know about that case. It is crazy that most crimes aren't sane. Oh, yes, Fallow was a good verdict. Just as it was as good as the watching the medium, the anchorman get zapped by the belt that Lori was wearing. The FBI has probably investigated various similar incidents all around the U.S. Absolutely. And when you have somebody that says, if my spit is found on one of the bodies, like, I can explain that, right? Why would you ask that? If you weren't there and you had nothing to do with it, why would your spit be on somebody's body? Yes, we do, Flash Fan. Yeah, I think Fallow was actually guilty. Yep, I did. Oh, man. Her trying to defend herself. The judge laying into her was just like... it was amazing. I loved it. I loved it. I bet the defense is the reason for the delay. She didn't want to do talking today, knowing she wouldn't be found not guilty. Well... yeah, Mr. Spit was definitely one of the guys. Too much information. Way too much information. Like, we have an unsolved murder around here, I think from 1997. The kid, and he was a kid, he was a teenager, was taken out, like, on one of the main... We have two highways that come together on one end of town, and he was driving in his car with a friend, and he is found shot in the middle of the road, in the middle of that highway, coming into town. It wasn't late. It was like 10:30 or so. I think that may have that wrong. The rumors have been around since that happened that it was a law enforcement kid, a local police man's kid. everyone's disappeared. Like the victim obviously did not live. The friend in the car, I think, has left, has never come back. And then nobody knows who did it. Like, the friend didn't know who did it. There's no, like, here's what the person looked like. There's nothing. No, like, here's the vehicle they were driving. There is zero information that has come out about this case. Pretty much ever. And I feel so sorry for his mom, the victim's mom. She just wants to know what happened to her son before she passes away. I don't think she's in great health. It's been a long time. And there's just nothing. And nothing being done. Nobody's looking into it. All those people have pretty much retired. Like, I don't know. Let me know when the judge... There's no judge head. No judge head. But it's just kind of too perfect, you know? We don't have a lot of crimes around here. I mean, I tell you that, and then I'll tell you, you know, in the last couple of years, there was a young girl that she went to school with Carmen, and she was found in the middle of a country road. Judge Head. We got Judge Head. Jenny. But it was solved pretty quick. There was witnesses in the car.
Back on the record in
They said it.
231-500139, State of Utah versus Corey Richens. Counsel for the state and the defendant are present. Ms. Richens is present as well. The court is informed that the jury has reached a verdict. I do not know what it is. We'll invite the jury in a moment. When I do, I'll ask the foreperson a simple yes or no question. Have you reached a unanimous verdict? I expect that person will say yes. I'll ask them to hand the verdict to the bailiff, hand it to me. I will read the verdict. This brings me to important instruction number 1. There can be no outward reactions whatsoever to the verdict. These folks are here against their will. They, all the lawyers, Ms. Richens, every attendee, my court staff, the bailiffs, everybody deserves your respect. There simply cannot be any outward reactions. You have to keep your hands folded in your lap. If you feel overcome with emotion, just look down. We cannot have any outward reaction. Second, once the verdict is read and the jury is discharged, you need to stay seated and follow the deputy's instructions about how we will leave the courtroom in an orderly fashion. If anybody in here can't follow these instructions, this is your chance to leave. All right. Fair warning. Counsel, Ms. Richens, it is my practice to ask all the lawyers and the defendant to stand in respect for the jury as I read the verdict. I just don't want you to be surprised. Okay. Mr. Bloodworth, are we ready for the jury?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Lewis.
We are.
All right. Folks, please have a seat as you come in. Please have a seat. Ladies and gentlemen, would the foreperson you've selected please stand? May I ask you a yes or no question? Has the jury reached a unanimous verdict? Yes, we have. Would you please hand the verdict form to the deputy, and you can have a seat. Thank you. All right. Counsel, Ms. Richards, please stand. Count 1, aggravated murder. We, the jury, unanimously find that the defendant, Corey Richins, is guilty of aggravated murder. We, the jury, unanimously agree that the prosecution has proved the following circumstances regarding count 1 beyond a reasonable doubt. The homicide was committed for pecuniary gain, and the homicide was committed by means of the administration of any substance administered in a lethal amount, dosage, or quantity. Count 2, attempted aggravated murder. We, the jury, unanimously find that the defendant, Corey Richins, is guilty of attempted aggravated murder. We, the jury, unanimously agree the prosecution has proved the following circumstances regarding count 2 beyond a reasonable doubt. The attempted homicide was committed for pecuniary gain. Count 3, insurance fraud. We, the jury, unanimously find that the defendant, Corey Richins, is guilty of insurance fraud. Count 4, insurance fraud. We, the jury, unanimously find that the defendant, Corey Richins, is guilty of insurance fraud. Count 5, forgery. We, the jury, unanimously find that the defendant, Corey Richins, is guilty of forgery. It's signed by the foreperson. Please have a seat. Madam Foreperson, is this the verdict that the jury reached unanimously?
Yes, it is.
Okay, you may have a seat. Ms. Lewis, Ms. Nestor, do you wish the jury to be polled?
Yes, please.
All right. Folks, I'll ask you the same yes or no question, one at a time, starting on my left, working this way. Front row first. If you could show me your lanyard number as I ask you. Juror number 5, is this the verdict you voted in favor of?
Yes.
Juror number 4, is this a verdict you voted in favor of? Juror number 3. I can't see your arms, I'm sorry. The foreperson, I just need to ask again, I'm sorry. Juror number 2.
Yes, it is.
Juror number 1.
Yes, Your Honor.
Sir. Juror number 8.
Yes.
Juror number 7.
Yes.
Juror number 6. All right. Counsel, is there anything further on this case before the jury is discharged? Mr. Bloodworth.
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
Ms. Lewis.
No, Your Honor.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, this trial is now finished. Thank you for your service. The American system of justice relies on your time and your sound judgment, and you have been generous with both. You serve justice by your fair and impartial decision. All of my previous admonitions are now lifted. You may speak about this case with anyone or with no one at all. It is entirely up to you. You might be contacted in the future by the press or by the lawyers. You do not have to talk with them or with anyone else, but you may if you would like. The choice is yours entirely. I'm now turning to the attorneys and instructing them to honor your wishes as officers of the court if you indicate that you do not want to talk about this case. If you do talk about the case, please respect the privacy of your fellow jurors. The confidences they may have shared with you during deliberation are not yours to share with others. Thank you, all of you, for your service. Please rise for the jury. All right, please have a seat. Ms. Lewis, we need to get a pre-sentence investigation report, and we need to set sentencing. I imagine, Mr. Bloodworth, that the state would request that that be special set.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Ms. Lewis, does defendant waive the 45-day limit for sentencing?
Yes, we will.
All right. Let me call up my calendar. Should we be looking in May, Ms. Lewis?
That's fine.
Do you have a sense of it, Mr. Bloodworth? April is not possible. In May, do you have a sense of when would be appropriate?
Your Honor, can I step back and talk to the victim's family?
Sure. And Ms. Lewis, if you need a moment to confer with anyone.
Your Honor, any day in May works.
Without having to move something, which I am, of course, willing to do, I could do it during the week of May 25 or the morning of May 13. But if those times don't work, or if the week of May 25 is too far out, I'll move something to accommodate council schedules. Ms. Lewis, why don't I begin with you?
Either of those days would work for the defense.
Is a morning enough time?
Yes, sir.
Ms. Lewis?
Yes.
Okay. We'll set sentencing for 9:30 a.m. Wednesday, May 13. We're hereby referring Ms. Richens for the preparation of a pre-sentence investigation report. Ms. Lewis, anything else on the record today?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Bloodworth?
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Richens, I'll see you again, May 13, 9:30 a.m. I need everyone to stay seated, follow the instructions of the Summit County deputies. The court is in recess. Travel safely.
Sorry, I was looking to see if she was going to be sentenced on Friday the 13th, but it's on a Wednesday. Wednesday the 13th. Yeah, I wasn't going to say that, Bobby. Because she had already said she has that blouse. I thought she looked scared to death before they read that. I don't... Is she looking at life? Or was this a capital? Does Utah have capital punishment? I don't know. I don't know the answer to your question, Flashman. Because I have not watched. I didn't watch it. Oh, the 13th is the victim's birthday? Whew. Huh. Well, Gabby, only life without parole was being sought. In some cases, I think that's worse. There's no light at the end of your tunnel. Gabby, we got that yesterday. It was in the 70s yesterday. Had the windows open. Madison and I were enjoying the breeze, and it was snowing here today. And it's like, well, now there's a snow statement. I have not looked at it. But it was like 26 here today. So, buckle up. Whew. Oh, yeah. True, true. Forgot about him. I feel bad for the kids because although there was justice for their dad, they lost their mom. True. It always sucks. It's a double-edged sword in cases as such when justice is served. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We will not have thunder snow. We just have snow. I don't want thunder snow. That's bad. Yes, a snow statement is in effect. It told me before I started the stream, high winds in 1 hour. I was like, okay, well, I don't want them before then. Better not be 58 minutes. Okay, let me see. What's this? I will see what the snow statement is, if I can. What is that? That's stupid. I can't read what it says. I'm not even sure it's for me. Oh no. It is. Yay. Yeah, there's no suggestions. It's just a statement. Oh my gosh. Go away. Yeah, I'm in the statement. Whatever. All right. Well, okay. We had a productive evening. I will say that. We got a little bit more done in the trial than I expected. So tomorrow we'll do opening statements for the defense. And then we have his first witness, which is Javier. It'll probably be a little bit shorter. But you know that never works out. So that's the plan. So we will finish this up. We'll finish this up next week. On, looks like, Tuesday. If everything keeps going to plan. The defendant is going to testify. So, Mr. Camacho, Joshua, makes two appearances on the stand. The first one, I don't know why, it's only 14 minutes long. And then he comes back. He comes back. Whatever. But after his first appearance, that's only 14 minutes long, then Rachel is going to take the stand. So she will be the third witness for the defense to testify. No problem, you guys. I mean, I was right here and I knew where it was. So I didn't want anybody to feel obligated if they had other places they wanted to go watch it, to go do that. So, but yeah, no problem at all. I mean, I would have been curious about it, even though I didn't watch it. Gabby, are you in a statement? Are you in a snow statement? You know what? I'm going to go eat. So, my husband did two things. One you will find funny, and I've totally forgot about it until, you're welcome, whoever. the defense got up and started talking about directions. When my husband and I were driving to dinner tonight, I was saying something to him, and he was like, "So on the north side?" And I thought, I don't know. I don't know. North side, south side, whatever. I mean, we all know I'm north side, right? That's right, north side. But I was laughing. I couldn't even explain it to him. Like, and I was just like, don't ask. Don't ask me these questions. I don't know. Well, Flashman, if I am, we'll do it. But that's all forgiven for him asking me if it was on the north side of a building or something, whatever he was asking me the directions of. Because he and I were talking about, he's a sweet tooth like no other. And I used to make this white cake with cherry icing on it. And I'm like, I can't find the cherry icing anymore. Well, he found it over the weekend. And yesterday he made a white cake with cherry frosting. I mean, this is what we would eat when we first got married. So I'm going to go have a piece of that. Because it's delicious. And I haven't had it forever. He's part of your gang. Oh, he is. But if he asks me directions like that, then he's on his own. Like, he's on his own. Like, don't tell me to meet you on the south side or the east side. I mean, the west side I can find. The east side. I can find the south side and east side and the north side. But if I'm talking to you about a place, don't ask me which way the car's pointing, okay? I don't know. I did not deprive him. I have looked for it. I didn't find it. I think he got lucky. And he bought it and he on his own, and he made it on his own. He actually made a double layer. Yeah, it was really nice. See, I'm not mean. He needs to consult a compass. Oh, flash fan. I'm sleeping. That'll be it. West side is good. Yes, I know where that's about the only side I go to. Flash fan. He was so deprived he did do all layers. Wrong. Wrong. Top layer cake's gone in 2 hours. That might be right. It really was. Get a cake, cherry frosting, sweet. Yes. Yes. That's what I'll be doing. Just look for the North Star. In Nebraska, I knew exactly where it was. Bad Dazzler. Here, I have no idea. I think I was talking about, I wasn't even talking about my little town. I was talking about the next little town where he works. And I was saying something about it. And he's like, oh, so the north side. I'm like, I don't know. So I had to think. The side that's closest to Indianapolis? Yeah, okay, north side, yes. Indianapolis is my North Star. Indianapolis is my North Star. Yeah, it's over there. It's the sun. That's the only way that I know my house faces east and west, Bobby, is because the sun comes up and sets. Otherwise, to me, it's north and south. Because I'm so turned around here. I don't know why. It's never going to change, ever. That's the way it is. I've been here since 1986, and it's never corrected itself. So that's just it. It could. It could move north and south. I'm not sure. In my world, it does. until I get back out to the actual Midwest, and then my compass recenters, and I know where I'm at. Yeah, but it would probably be off. It'd probably be telling me north when I know darn good and well I'm going east. Yes, back in 1986, when the world was in black and white and everything was great. Can I read a compass? Yes. Do I have to get it pointing in the right direction? What do those letters mean? Not safe for work. You know, there's no F. We'll just pretend east is the F. All right, that's it. I can't go off the rails any further. It's crashed, it's burned. I'm gonna go eat some cake, and I'm gonna go to bed. Yeah, if I had to I assume the compass does its thing to point you in the right direction. Gabby knows what shape a compass is. No problem there. No problem there. That stuff is like eating. I don't know. I would rather, when I had horses, go out and take a big handful of their sweet feed. It would have been better. Round. Good answer, Gabby. Good answer. Your phone should have a compass setting on if you have a star chart. I think I have an app that has a star chart. Yeah, no, shredded wheat is yucky. News. Oh, you know, I've actually never heard that one. I was just making the E and F. I could only come up with. That's all I had. All right, guys, we'll be back, or I'll be back. I think Gabby will be with me tomorrow at 6 p.m. I almost said 9 p.m. No, 6 p.m. Eastern time. Real time, not fake time. PM, not AM. Whatever these trials have brought us, there will be no math questions at all, or surgery. So we will proceed on with the defense's opening. I can't wait. I hope he brings up the directions that the cars were pointing or not pointing. Yes, now I'm dyslexic with numbers. Hey, I already tell you, I can't say words. Most of the time, I can't even read them. Yes, thou shalt not do surgery on math. But you know what I can do? I can land the plane right now. And I will see you guys all tomorrow. Have a great night. Stay safe if you're getting any storms. And enjoy your day tomorrow.
Humanity and love is kinda uncanny. Click, like, subscribe, ooh, piece of candy. Looking for my spotlight, chasing my vibe. Still looking for my credibility online. Ooh, hot mannequin love, candy on the floor, don't pick it up. Chasing all the clicks, chasing all the views. Credibility's hiding, but I'm bringing you the news. Every little scroll is a mystery, but you stuck around, watch the show with me. Laughs and chaos, that's how we roll. Drop a comment down below before you go. Every little scroll is a mystery, but you stuck around, watch the show with me. Laughs and chaos, that's how we roll. Drop a comment down below before you go.